Well, hello and welcome to Performance E-Streaming for Thursday Night Thunder here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for Round 8 of the ANZCAR Thunder Series for Xfinity cars. I'm Brett Douglas, and with me tonight in the commentary booth is Carl Withy. How are you, Carl?
Hey Brett, I'm not too bad. A bit of a long break since I last saw you.
Has indeed. Bit of a mid-season break, maybe.
Yes, sometimes we need it.
Yeah, we do. It feels like a hell of a lot more than a month, though, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
So, we've come to New Hampshire for round 8. Just to explain to everyone, it's unfortunate we had to skip round 7 at Kentucky, but due to some iRacing builds and a few other issues, it was deemed not possible to do. So here we are at New Hampshire about 4 weeks later, and yeah, a nice short 1 mile oval, Carl. Should be an interesting one.
Yeah, New Hampshire's a bit of a tricky track, though. With the asphalt and the granite makeup of the track, it's not great for grip sometimes, and it's also got a very low banking as well. Watching the practice and a lot of the drivers out there tonight as well, they've been really struggling for that sort of third and fourth line. Sort of going up high towards the edge of the circuit has been causing a lot of problems so far. So I expect to see a few people having a bit of a tricky time tonight.
It does make it pretty tricky, and generally speaking, at this track, they use the second or third lines through the track. I mean, obviously, the ideal line would be to keep it as low as you can, but it seems to be the grips around the second and third lines, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much. The lower line at the moment is very hard to stay on. Anybody that's been trying to run that low line has been really struggling on the on coming out of the turn and sliding up towards the track. Another thing that's been happening quite a lot is the cars have been just bouncing off the walls a lot. Especially on turn 4 coming onto the sort of main straight, and especially because there's that inside wall where the pit lane is. When a car bounces off of that wall, they then bounce on the inside wall, and it could cause a nasty wreck tonight. So hopefully we won't see that, but it is something to be mindful of.
Yeah, I think a few of them are going to have to be pretty careful how they go about it. We've got a few debutants tonight too, we should mention before we get into qualifying. Courtesy of the Truck Series. So if anyone is not sure, how it works is we have the Monday Night Truck Series. The top 3 from that series progress into the Thunder Series. You get their Thunder license. So out of that, we've got Michael Skurlock in the number 350 car. He's the reigning champion now for Monday Night Trucks. So he makes his debut tonight in the Alliance Motorsport 350. We've got Aaron Wilton in the number 25 Alliance car. He came 3rd in the Truck Series. We've got Ben Doty, who came 2nd by not very much in the Truck Series. So those 3 guys should be making their debut tonight. And also Braden Boulos, who won 9 races in the Truck Series. So he got a special dispensation for the licence because that's some sort of domination in the races he went in, wasn't it?
Yes, it's very hard to get that many wins in a season because it's just such a close series. The trucks are very, very close, and it's very hard to get that sort of dominance. And it was a real. It's very disappointing to not get the title after such domination.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he didn't compete in all the rounds. He missed several rounds, so to do that still was pretty impressive work. So, having said that, we haven't seen either Aaron or Braden tonight, so I'm not really sure if they're going to run or not. They're running out of time if they are, because we've only got a couple of seconds left of practice and we're going to qualifying. So if they don't, hopefully we'll see them in a round very soon.
Yeah, hopefully they'll pop in for one of the later sort of races in the series just to get some sort of laps underneath their belt. It's all about that sort of practice in this sort of regard. When you're sort of jumping into a series, sometimes, sort of halfway through a championship, it's not always the most fun thing, but it can give you some good sort of experience for the next season. That's
the thing. So, all right, so on to qualifying now, and I'm just watching Hayden Dodman come out for his first run. Hayden's obviously one of the championship runners, for want of a better term. Let's see what he can do on his 2 laps here. Yeah, we do hope that Hayden will actually get quite far up today. He's not been setting the fastest times in practice, but that doesn't mean he won't be up there for qualifying. Well, he's won 3 rounds so far out of the 6 we've run, so you'd have to think that he'll be up there.
He's definitely someone you can't count out, that's for sure.
So it looks like he's aborting his first lap. It looks like he just touched the wall coming into the back straight off turn 2. So I guess he'll probably restart and go again, which he is.
And back out he goes. And hopefully he doesn't catch that wall again.
One of the unfortunate parts of this, I suppose, is if you just do get it a little bit too deep in there, you're going to push up into this wall, because these cars seem to be really, really tight. They're pushing so hard on exit up the track that, yeah, they're going to have to be very careful, aren't they?
They are. It's very tricky. I actually had a few runs of the track, a few laps on the track myself this morning, and I was finding over sort of just a couple of laps, it was very hard to keep the car sort of out of the walls. The car really does like getting up towards that high line, and as soon as you get on that high line, you're going straight into the barrier.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to be going there, that's for sure. It doesn't do the car any good. I mean, you can carry a little bit of damage here, but you don't want to carry much at all, if any. That's obviously why you want it to be. So, looking at it now, though, Hayden's back out there, and he's winding up now. At the moment, we've got Riley Curtis at the top of the timesheets on a 30.22, and we'll see what Hayden can do here. And he's aborting this lap as well.
It's not going too well for him out there tonight, unfortunately.
All right, so he's picking up a little bit of pace again. Interesting tactic. Not really sure what he's doing there.
Now, one thing you can try and do sometimes on these short tracks is just get a little bit of a sort of awkward run out of turn 4, just to give yourself a little bit of extra speed going into the first corner. It's not the optimal way, but it can sometimes help. Another thing a lot of people have been complaining about tonight as well is the tyres. They've been sort of struggling getting grip into the tyres through the whole stint, and I do wonder if a lot of people are struggling with that with qualifying at the moment.
Funny you say that. It's from some of the chatter and watching some of the runs that they were doing in practice. I was starting to wonder whether some people might gamble on staying out during some of the earlier cautions, or even some of the mid-race cautions, if there are any, which we do expect at a track like this, to try to play the longer game, because the tyres don't seem to be going off as such. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
And Jason Martin's just at a best time of a 30.24, a 30.024, a very good lap for him.
Yeah, so at the moment we're looking at a Jason Martin pole, which isn't that unsurprising, I must say.
It doesn't really come as a shock to many people with that one. Jason Martin does tend to get the car up there, and he's usually running up the front at most races.
He is.
Dave Douglas is actually doing quite well too. He's currently sitting in 8th place. Dave Douglas, of course, won last race out at Daytona.
Yeah, he did. Gee, it seems like so long ago. So, okay, Hayden looks like he's struggling a little bit here, so we might move on and see how a few of the other guys are going here. I'm just having a look through to see who's out on track. At the moment, we've got Jason Martin on pole from Riley Curtis, Ashley Lear, Bruce Smith. Good to see Bruce back. He skipped a couple of rounds. Jackson Callow and James Foster there in 6th.
Yeah, very good run there for James Foster. Very good hand. Usually manages to put in some good races. Sometimes does struggle a little bit in qualifying, I sort of noticed, but it's good to see him up there in the top 6 at the moment.
Yeah, James a pretty solid runner. He's always there or thereabouts in the top 5, top 10. Always a chance for the win, isn't he? It's just a matter of how he gets through the field. Yeah.
Just before we go on, Hayden Dodman's just had a big off trying for another lap there. He's just gone straight into the walls and ended up on the inside of the back straight. He's really struggling out there tonight.
Yeah, it looks like he just got it a little bit too wide on the exit there of turn 2, and he's clipped the wall, and it's spat him off into the inside tyre wall, hasn't it?
Yeah, not a nice thing to happen at all, and hopefully, well, better to happen in qualifying than the race, of course, but not what you want to be happening. He does look like he's really struggling out there tonight.
Yeah, he does. Well, having said that, though, I mean, you know, he's always quick. He's always there. I wouldn't discount him. He'll work his way through the field. I'm sure he'll get his rhythm. It's just the one lap. Just the one lap he seems to be struggling with right now, I guess.
Yeah, never count them out. That's the thing. You can never count them out.
All right, so I notice Steve Williams is coming out on track now in the number 98 Alliance car. Let's see what Steve can do. He was very quick in practice. Steve's always up there in the top 10, top 5 as well. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. He was doing okay in practice.
Yeah, it could be a good opportunity for a lot of drivers tonight if the sort of the say top drivers, but the leading drivers of the championship are struggling a little bit tonight. It could be an opportunity for some of the people who tend to sit in the sort of top 10 to sort of get a bit of a better performance possible. But saying that, Steve Williams just went straight into the wall, unfortunately.
At turn 2 again. Gee, this wall's really catching a few of them, isn't it?
Yeah, turn 2 is a real struggle for a lot of people. As I say, I think the places to look out for are turn 2 and turn 4. Hopefully we're not going to get many into turn 4 because, well, as I said, turn 4 is not a nice place to go into because you're going to end up on the inside wall there, and that could end up with a bit of a bad wreck happening. But hopefully we'll won't have too many more incidents.
No. So, might have a bit of a look at an in-car with Steve and go for a lap around New Hampshire with him. I'll keep it quiet and we can listen to the sound of the car and see how Steve goes. That puts him 7th at the moment as he goes into his second lap. Love the sound of those cars. It helps you understand where they're braking and where they're accelerating and how they've got to roll out of the throttle into the turns at this track, doesn't it?
It does, yes. And on these short ovals, especially with the low banking, is you're sort of generally sort of keeping it in 4th gear all the way around, and then you're just using the engine just to sort of brake you, basically. You don't want to use the brakes too heavily on the track like this because the car can snap out. You have to, of course, do a little dab of the brakes, but just using the engine's own sort of that words escaped me, but just using the engine just to brake you down, slow you down a little bit going into the corners. And generally you'll see most drivers just keeping it in 4th gear, just going around the track. A couple have been playing around with dropping it to 3rd, but it can be a bit tricky sometimes. You have to watch out for the car snapping out on you when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And funny you say that because aside from using the engine braking, after talking to a few of the guys earlier, a lot of them are braking quite heavily at the 200-meter marker on the wall there, and you know they're really leaning on the brakes hard just to keep that nose in and stop it from pushing up the track.
Yeah, you want to use the brake mode, sort of the momentum of the brakes, to get the car just leaning forwards that little bit, just to pitch you into the corner, just so you can get that little bit of a tighter line sometimes. But of course, you always have to watch out because sometimes the rear will step out when doing that.
Yeah, that's it. It depends where your bias is set to, I suppose. I mean, if you've got the bias set towards the rear, that's going to happen a little bit. But I'm just having a look here now. It looks like most people have done their laps. There's still a few that haven't. You've got Ben Doty, who's debuting tonight, Aaron Dillon, Darren McKenzie, Danny G, Matthew Clute and Jake Maloney have all either chosen to not set a lap or they're just waiting until the last few seconds. They may even start from pit lane. It could be an interesting strategy. So,
yeah, starting that little bit further behind might be a safe option, in all honesty. With green tyres, slightly colder tyres when you're on the start, of course, there could be a few incidents. So We're going to start lining up now.
All right, so probably timely to go through the grid, shall we? While we've got time, and I'll go through a pace lap, and yeah, we'll start at the top. So on pole is Jason Martin with a 30.02. Not a bad lap that. He's got about 2/10 up on the next driver, which is Riley Curtis. Third will be Ashley Lear. Beside him will be Bruce Smith. Row 3 will be Jackson Callow and James Foster. On the next row will be Stephen Williams and James Robbie. On the 5th row will be Dave Douglas and Edward Foster.
And on the 6th row, we have Michael Sherlock, debuting tonight, of course, with Phil Otto beside him, Dwayne Priest and Hayden Dodman, Norman Clark with Josh McLemore, Joshua Carroll Walden with Gavin Sadler next to him, Carl Sloggett and Daniel Stevens. Then we have Chris Purnell in 21st place, Roger Clark 22nd, Jake Maloney, Matthew Clute, Daniel McKenzie, Danny G, Ben Doherty and Aaron Dillon on the last spot in 28th.
A couple of surprising ones of note there. Chris Purnell down in 21st on a 31-1. Not where you would have
seeing were people climbing up and trying to get those positions back.
And you've got Matthew Clute down there as well, and Danny G. Chris, Matthew, and Danny I would have expected to be a lot further up. So, yeah, let's watch them with a bit of interest. Gavin Sadler's a bit further back than I would have thought too, in 18th. So, could give us some interesting racing.
Yeah, that's it. Danny G is actually one of the sort of a bit of an insider tip for this track with his experience in the trucks. He's of course being the 2-time truck champion now, isn't he?
He's K&N champion, yeah.
Yeah, K&N, there we go. And he's very good on these sort of slightly flatter ovals. So it might be fun to see him coming up the field. Maybe that's why he's starting sort of a little bit further back than expected. He's just going to try and keep out of trouble on the first couple of laps, just expecting there to be a couple of incidents maybe.
I think it's going to be an interesting first lap. So as they come around, pace car comes off, and they're now being timed by Jason, who gets a great jump. Looks like Riley's trying to hang on there on the high line, and Ashley Lear down on the low line. Let's see if they can all get through nice and clean.
Hopefully we will get a bit of a clean first lap. There are a couple of small touches on the wall on the outside as we go through the first lap, of course.
So it looks like Bruce Smith got a very, very nice start as well. He's up on the back of Riley Curtis there. Down underneath him is Ashley Lear. Already pulling out a gap is Jason Martin, though. He just got a great start from the lights, and he's just pulling away.
Yeah, we usually expect Jason Martin to start climbing his way through the field and getting ahead quite early on, and it's not a bad strategy to have. Jim Clark, of course, always used to have that sort of mantra about being in lead and just being as fast as possible, because if you're in the lead and out front, you can't really get into too much trouble.
Well, that's in theory, but at a track like this, as they start to come around on some of the back markers, that'll change a little bit, because it'll get a little bit busy out here.
As soon as we start getting lapped traffic, it is going to start getting a little bit problematic for the drivers.
28 cars on a 1 mile oval, it's not a lot of room.
There's going to be a fair bit of lapping going on tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, but Jason, he's just taking off, isn't he?
He is absolutely gone. He's left the field in his wake. Fantastic start by Jason Martin, though.
Looks like there's a little bit of hip and shoulder further back in the pack there. Can't really see who that is at the moment because we're following Jason, but if we go back behind Jason, Riley Curtis and Bruce Smith seem to be having a bit of a ding-dong battle here. And Bruce Smith's just coming up on the inside now of Riley Curtis, so he'll have the optimal line going into turn 1.
Yeah, and Riley's just on that outside line, which is really, it's been problematic for a lot of people, but he's managed to keep the car really well, although he's getting very close to the wall there.
You'd have to think that if you try to hold the low line lap after lap with someone above you, you are going to start to burn those tyres up, I'd say.
Yeah, this is one of the things, as you were saying before, it's going to be a race where tyre wear could be a major factor. If you can keep your tyres relatively sort of clean for the race, you might be able to get away with having just a couple less stops for tyres and just needing fuel only, and that could get you up quite a few positions tonight.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the drop-off of the tyres too. If they're not dropping off so far, it's a fairly warm track at 41 degrees. Ambient's only 28, but I mean, 41-degree track, 27 cars, 28 cars. Track's going to start heating up pretty quickly. So, yeah, looking after them is going to be paramount. But I notice here too that Jackson Callow is giving Riley Curtis a bit of a run at the moment. Ashley Lear's dropped back to 5th at this stage, and there's a bit of a gap back to Edward Foster.
It looks like Phil Otto's had a bit of a big hit in the back of his car. He's got a fairly big dent in the rear of his vehicle. Hayden Dodman's just in front of him, and the rear is looking slightly... I can't see if there's any bends on it. But it does look like Phil Otto's taken a little bit of a whack from behind.
Yeah, I noticed a bit earlier in the first couple of laps there was a bit of biff barge and hip and shoulder going on further back in the pack, and yeah, kind of to be expected really.
Yeah, on short ovals like this, you usually do get a little bit of door rolling.
Just a little bit, and as the race wears on, you'll probably find there'll be a little bit of bumper rubbing and a few little things, a few little bump and runs and so on, just trying to shift people out of the way if you're feeling that little bit quicker. As the groove tightens down to a single groove or two if you're really lucky, you'll find people trying to do anything they can to get past.
And there's nothing wrong with swapping a little bit of paint here and there, you know, it makes the cars look prettier.
Rubbing is racing, as they say.
If you're not leaving the rubber on the side of the walls, you're not going fast enough.
or on your competitors' doors. So as we look now, Jason Martin's got a great lead out front. He's about 8/10 in front of Bruce Smith. Bruce has got about the same gap back to Riley Curtis. Small gap then back to Jackson Callow and Ashley Lear. But looks like Bruce Smith's setting off after Jason Martin, doesn't it?
Yeah, Bruce Smith's catching a fair pace now. Actually, he's really sort of doing a great job getting up there.
He is. He pulled a 10th back on Jason last lap. Let's see if he can keep that kind of momentum going.
Yeah, he's definitely, and you can visibly see him catching as well.
You can, and I've just noticed Edward Foster's dropping back a little bit off the back of Ashley Lear back there in 6th. So yeah, the top 5 or 6 are starting to spread out a little bit. So
they are, and we have quite a big pack of cars racing around about the sort of 10th and below, around about the 13th position. There's a relatively close racing going on. Michael Sherlock's having a good little battle with Dwayne Priest and Joshua Carroll Walden as well. But Hayden Dodman as well is sort of battling with the car to keep ahead of that little pack.
You read my mind. I was about to say, where's Hayden Dodman got to? Very, very quiet tonight, isn't he?
He is. He's currently sitting in 12th position. He does seem to be struggling that little bit. He's not sort of pulling away, and he's had quite a few people just sitting on his rear. He's sort of just losing the car in 10th place. It does possibly look like he's got a little bit of front end damage. Yeah, he's got quite a bit of front end damage actually. The front left of the car has got a big dent in it, so it does look like he's taken a little bit of a bite into the back of somebody.
Well, we've got Jason Martin just come out now in the first lap car, which is Roger Clark, I think. Yeah, Roger Clark. So he's got a dent in the back of his car, about a Hayden Dodman size. So that could have been the answer.
Yes, and also Phil Otto, remember, as well. He also has a relatively large hole in the back of his car as well, and he was relatively close to Hayden Dodman as well. So again, that might be part of it. So not too sure where that incident happened, but definitely there's been a bit of a bash out there, and it's caused some problems for a few drivers. But Roger Clark does look like he's struggling for the moment.
Yeah, he does, and he's just gone down a lap now. So I guess if we went back through the pack, we'd probably see a lot of cars with a few scars off the first few laps, wouldn't we?
Yes, and it's to be expected on this track. It's one of those tracks where if you manage to finish the race with a clean paint job, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be a couple of little scrapes and marks and bumps, wouldn't you? But I don't know. Looking at Jason Martin's car right now, it's pretty clean.
Hopefully it'll stay that way for the rest of the race. Of course, this is always the hardest part now, is coming through the lapped traffic. Of course, no blue flags in oval NASCAR racing. You know, it's not like the open wheeler Formula 1 sort of style racing where the person who's coming a lap down is expected to jump out of your way after a couple of seconds. You have to actually race the people, and it is a part of the racing is to try and keep on that lead lap, because you can win a race so easily, even from the back of the field. Is one good call or one good pit stop can get you so many positions, so it is vital to try and stay on that lead lap.
Yeah, it is, and the other thing too to remember, you get the lucky dogs in NASCAR racing, and if you're lucky enough to be the first lap car down, you'll get the lucky dog and get your lap back, and that's kind of what you hope for, don't you?
You do, and it's a good tactic to actually try and just lock yourself in behind the leader as well, because if you can sort of manage to keep pace with the leader, generally, of course, the car in front is being lapped will sort of know that the leader's coming up on them and might not fight them quite as hard, thinking they will get that lucky dog. But if you're just straight on the leader's back end, you can possibly get a position out of it as well.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we're running lap 19 right now, and no sign of anyone pitting, which we didn't really think they would be, because they can go, as we said earlier, probably close to 80 odd laps on a tank of fuel. It's just how the tyres are hanging in. Doesn't appear that Jason Martin and Bruce Smith and Riley Curtis, they don't seem to be pushing up the track too far. They seem to be fairly stable in their lap times. Yeah, I can't imagine, unless we get a caution soon, that anything will change too soon. Interesting though, running lap 20 now, I would have thought we'd had a caution by now, to be honest.
Yes, it's nice that we haven't had a caution yet. I'm surprised nobody's actually bounced off the one of the walls yet with practice, although just saying that, Hayden Dodman just looked like he was getting very, very close to doing it.
He's having a struggle tonight, isn't he? He's back in 11th right now. Someone else who's struggling at the moment is Michael Skurlock, although having said that, he's 13th, and it's his debut night tonight, so big good experience for Michael. Dave Douglas, he's back there in 12th. I thought he might have been a bit further up. Chris Purnell, he's down in 19th. Chris seems to be doing it pretty tough tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough race for a lot of drivers. It's one of those races that can really take it out of you. Although it's not the fastest track in the world, you're not traveling at immense speeds like Daytona, where you're traveling sort of close to 200 miles per hour most of the lap. These short tracks are the things that really take it out of you, just because of the braking, because of the turns. You have to catch the car and the slide a lot. It's a very tricky track to race on, and also when you're following a car, because there is that braking to be had, you have to watch out not to drive into the back of somebody else, because it's very easy to just brake a fraction of a second too late and just go into the back of somebody.
Yeah, short pit entry, narrow exit, doesn't go well, does it, sometimes? So,
no, that's one of the big things as well. Later on in the race, if we do have green flag green flag pit stops, because it is a very short pit entry here, it can be. You can find sometimes that people do get sucked up into the back of the car pitting, and it can cause a bit of a wreck. The other problem as well is on this track is the pit exit is very, very slippery, and it's very, very narrow as well, so it's easy to get yourself a penalty coming out of the pit lane.
Too true. It's something that just got to be sort of mindful of, I guess, and it's really going to be a factor for the guys further back in the pack and those coming up on lap cars, isn't it?
Looks like we've got a slow car. It looks like Hayden Dodman's gone into the wall. He's had a big slide into the wall, it looks like, and he's lost a... it's still in 13th place, but he was travelling very, very slowly there. It looked like he was just scraping along the wall for a couple of moments.
Yeah, it's lost him a bit more than that. It looks like he's dropping down the order pretty quickly.
Yes, it's... yeah, he's fallen down now quite quickly. I think 17th place, so my position's no, my position thing wasn't updating. There we go, 17th place.
Yep.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of places. It does not look like it's going to be a good night for Hayden. He's going to be really wanting to get a full course caution so he can get some repairs done to that car.
Yeah, it's just one of those nights. I think you're going to have them, and I don't know. It's heartbreaking when they do happen, I suppose, but it won't be doing him any good to see Jason out there just pretty much dominating at the moment, will it?
That's it, and that's one of the things that can really affect people. Now, with Hayden Dodman, he's got a very cool head on him, and I doubt it's going to be something that's going to affect him too much, but it can really affect your when you're driving in a championship position, seeing yourself when you're leading a championship, when you're coming in leading a championship, and all of a sudden you start dropping back, losing positions, falling to the back of the grid, and your championship rival is possibly going to win the race. You can get a little bit sort of downhearted with it, and it can start making you make small little mistakes and just little errors that you normally wouldn't make. It's a very easy thing to happen.
Yeah, you had an 11-point lead coming into this over Jason Martin. There's still 5 rounds to go after this, though. I mean, we'll go to Watkins Glen in a fortnight, which is a road race. Now, that'll test a few people. Hayden's very good on the road, whereas Jason seems to struggle. So it could even up the ledger a little bit. I guess it ebbs and flows. And just after, the fortnight after that, we've got the Charlotte Roval, which again is another road course, it's a bit of a quirky one, but it's a road course. So that's where Hayden shines on the roads. So
we've got a good battle going on for 7th and 8th position at the moment with Edward Foster and Josh McLemore. Sort of very close position there. Josh McLemore's just been sort of keeping right on the back of Edward Foster's tail.
Yep, I'm sticking with the lead cars at the moment, but
yeah, just keeping an eye on everything at the moment. And that's the hard part with all of the one of the hard part with doing the iRacing commentary, I must say, is just trying to keep an eye on what's going on, making sure that everybody's spotted.
Nope, that's okay. You keep watching that, Carl. That's fine, and I'll interrupt if anything happens up the front because Jason's just coming up on a big bunch of lap cars.
Okay, so it looks like Edward Foster's just pulled a bit of a gap now. Josh McLemore was much closer before. He was sort of rubbing right on the rear end, but he's just lost a little bit of time now, and it's given Stephen Williams a chance to catch up. So looks like we could have a battle, and Edward Foster's just gone into the wall. He's just had a big hit into the wall coming off turn 3, I think. Sorry, turn 3. Yeah, he's had a big hit off turn 3, and that's let McLemore go through. And we have got our first person going into the pits as well, I think. So Roger Clark's gone into the pits.
Yeah, Roger was carrying damage from earlier, wasn't he?
He was, unfortunately. So I don't know if...
Nope, so I'm watching Jason Martin now. He's working his way pretty well through the traffic. Bruce Smith's hanging there with him. What's he got now? Oh, he's got a fair gig. I guess like traffic is starting to play a part in this. Jason's working through pretty well. Most people have been pretty courteous, but it's kind of hindering Bruce a little bit by the looks of it.
Yeah, so look, as I said, you don't have to jump out the way of people in this series, but generally most people are pretty sportsmanlike. They're not going to sort of try and cause the leaders too much trouble.
No, and at this level too, these guys race with each other week in, week out. They're pretty well known to each other, and they're always very courteous and race very clean. And that's one of the things that makes the series so exciting. Yeah, we're running lap 33 of 150, and we haven't had a caution yet. That says a lot about the standard of the driving as well, doesn't it?
It does. It's a very skilled group out there, and as I said, it's a very hard track tonight as well. And just managing not to have many big crashes is very, very good for these drivers. They've done incredibly well so far. Of course, now we've probably done the curse of the commentator, so we'll have a 15-car pile-up. But they've really been doing well not to sort of have any big incidents. We've had a couple of small scrapes and a couple of people going into the backs of people, obviously, but there's not been anything big enough to cause a full course caution.
No, nothing even close. And I just watching here now, and unfortunately, the situation arises here for Jason Martin where there's guys having their own little race and they're not really watching in their rear vision so much, and the leaders have just got to sort of pick their way through, and it's given Bruce Smith a bit of a chance to close right up on Jason. Actually, he's only a small margin back behind him now, and it's starting to get a little bit closer than I think that what Jason would like.
Yeah, starting to get a little bit racy, which is what we want to see. Absolutely, you know, in motorsport we do like to see people racing each other. So it's nice as it would be for Jason, as I'm sure he would love to be able to pull out a couple of laps lead. Having a car behind him catching up to him is what we want to see.
Well, Bruce has certainly, he set off after him very early in the race, and he sort of held that gap for a while, but now with the traffic, looks like, as I said earlier, it's not working out so well for Jason. Now it's sort of turned the tide a little bit. At first he was pulling a bit more of a gap, but now Bruce seems to be the one that's having the luck. So it's just ebbing and flowing right now. He's only got a 4/10 gap on Bruce, has Jason Martin. So let's see how close he can get here before he actually challenges, I suppose.
Speaking of things changing, people's luck changing, I'm just watching Hayden Dodman quickly, and he's starting to climb his way back through the field. He's currently racing sort of Phil. Where am I? Yes, he's currently sitting in 15th position, and he's getting very racy with the cars around him, which is good. He's starting to climb back up. The damage to the car, of course, is not going to help too much, but he's still not slow. Even with that damage, he's still got some pace in him.
Well, that's good to hear. Wish Hayden all the best, and he's going to have to do an awful lot of work to get back up to where Jason is right now, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, he will be praying for a full course caution sometime soon.
Well, we've got 21 cars left on the lead lap, so got a few that have gone a lap down now. I guess a few of them will be really, really, really hoping for the caution, not just Hayden. Bruce Smith is really closing up on Jason, so I'm starting to wonder if he hasn't maybe burnt those tyres out a little bit more than what Bruce has in the run to make that gap.
Yeah, and that's something you have to be careful of. When you do have clear air, is sometimes you can push the car a little bit too hard. It's good to get that lead up, but just edging off a tiny bit can make the biggest difference in tyre life. Even sometimes when you've got that clear air in front of you, you just want to sort of go for it. And look, most racing drivers, they've got a bit of a different brain to most normal people, and when they see clear air and see that they can go fast, they will go fast, and they don't think about the long game sometimes. Not saying that they never think of that, but sometimes they just have that little instinct to just try and go as fast as possible, and that can cause problems just for tyre length.
Yeah, totally agree. And well, the interesting thing here is that Bruce Smith, who's closing up on Jason Martin now, has got a 7-second gap over third place Riley Curtis. That's huge.
It is. It's a fairly decent lead. I'm just watching down in 11th place at the moment with James Foster and our debuting Michael Skurlock. They're having a great battle at the moment. James just got overtaken by Michael and then managed to get the position back, so got a nice little battle going on there. It seems Michael Skurlock's got a slightly better car at the lower line, but James is able to run that midline a little bit easier.
Yeah, a couple of aggressive drivers there. It'll be a fascinating battle to watch that, because neither of them like to give too much quarter. So James is known for his aggressiveness. He's clean, but he's aggressive. And Michael is the same, as we saw in the truck series over the last series. He didn't win it because he was laying down taking it, did he?
No, and actually just coming up on that battle is Hayden Dodman. He's coming up behind. He's actually caught up to them quite quickly. So with them battling out at the moment, he's catching up to them quite a decent pace, and he's getting himself involved in that little battle.
Well, just remember too, he'll have much fresher tyres as well.
Which will be an absolutely great help. And he's just got through past Michael Skurlock in. And
I'm just having a look here. You know, Hayden doesn't have fresher tyres. He hasn't been into the pits.
No,
he's
he
just
hasn't.
got himself together and he's picked it up and he's just marched on.
He's just driving around the car's damage now. It seems like it almost seems like the damage to the car has improved his car for him, which is a funny thing that can sometimes happen in stock cars. It's sometimes a little bit of a whack here or there can change the aerodynamics a little bit, and sometimes it can just make it feel a little bit sort of looser on the track somewhat, and sometimes it might suit your driving style a little bit better. But he's going great guns at the moment. He's catching on James Foster in the number 27, and he's going down the inside, and he's passed without too much of a problem. But it looks like James is going back. He's caught him, and just a little bit of a tap there by James Foster on and Hayden Dodman in the number 11. Not a bad one, just a little bit of door rubbing there. But Hayden Dodman did a fantastic job of keeping the car under control. He could have gone around with could have been a nasty little smash there for him.
Yeah, I've just moved a bit forward again. I'm just watching the leaders, Jason Martin and Bruce Smith, and Bruce Smith was just challenging Jason, and he was literally right up on his rear bumper. So he's just dropped back a little bit now after passing Chris Purnell, I think it was. But yeah, Bruce is definitely sitting there waiting for Jason to either make a mistake or just run out of tyres, I think.
Yes, and it can be that thing of just waiting for him to get just caught behind a lapped car maybe as well, as, you know, just waiting for your opportunity. If you've got that little bit of extra gap, you don't want to be sitting too close to the car in front of you sometimes in these situations, because it can give you a little bit of an extra run, so you can possibly get a little bit more speed on the exit of a corner, especially if somebody gets tucked up behind a lapped car, and just give you that opportunity to just take a bit of a dive down the inside. So he might just be waiting for that opportunity.
Yeah, could well be, could well be. Seems to be just managing the gap right now, Jason Martin does, back to Bruce Smith. Last few laps have pretty much stayed stable. Bruce is running a slightly lower line than Jason. I noticed Jason's running a slightly higher line, probably up in the third groove, whereas Bruce is running a second groove. So, but yeah, not a lot's changing there, so...
And just watching the battle in the sort of midfield around 13th place, Michael Sherlock's just got a little bit high. He just got into the high line and just lost himself a lot of time and a couple of positions, unfortunately. It's so easy to do here, though, is it just takes that little momentary lapse in concentration or just braking the millimetre too late, and you will just go sort of sailing up that high line and lose a lot of time.
Yeah, it's easy to do, and while you're trying to hold somebody off, you're tempted to just go that couple of metres deeper into the braking zone, or just get on the throttle that little bit early coming out of turn 2 or turn 4, you know, and it's just, that's when you're just going to put it into the fence, aren't you?
Yes, it's an easy thing to do. Just on that battle, though, Dave Douglas has just got into... Dave Douglas is a bit back, actually. He's down the field, unfortunately. It looks like he's made a pit stop. That's why he's got some decent speed on him and flying past many of the cars. I was just watching the battle there, and he just came sailing past that mid-pack, and he's got some decent speed. So it does look like the fresher tyres are going to be a big difference maker when they come in for them.
I just noticed it like Chris Purnell just clipped the wall there too, coming into through first caution. Okay, who's involved in that? Looks like Hayden Dodman
and the
Joshua Carroll Walden.
Yes. Foster and Dodman, apparently. So we had Foster and Dodman, unfortunately. So it looks like James Foster came out the slightly better in that incident, but it does look like Hayden Dodman has taken a big whack, unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks like James Foster and Hayden Dodman were getting into it a little bit, and unfortunately Edward just came into it at the wrong moment and turned Hayden around and sent him to the inside. So. And then Edward got caught up with somebody else. I didn't quite catch who that was, though.
No, we'll wait for... Hopefully we'll get a replay on that one.
It was Michael Skurlock. Had nowhere to go down on the inside line as Hayden spun across in front of him.
Oh, that is a real shame.
Doesn't look like there's a lot of damage to anyone there, but gee whiz, what an up and down night for Hayden.
It's been a very rough race for Hayden Dobler, unfortunately, and it's going to be a long night for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of them going into the pits now, including our leader. So right now we're watching Bruce Smith and Jason Martin, who was the leader, come in. Let's see if they hit their marks fine. Looks like they both did. See who gets the run out. Jason Martin away smartly, and it looks like Riley Curtis has just jumped Bruce Smith as well. Bruce Smith was very slow to get away. Jackson Callow might have got the jump there on him as well, I think.
Yes, we'll wait for it all to shake out.
He did. Jason Martin got out first from... No, it was Bruce Smith. Sorry, the two yellow cars just threw me. Bruce did get out second, so...
It does get tricky sometimes telling these cars.
It does. I thought it was Riley Curtis, yeah.
No, so not much change at the front, which is probably good, and everybody's probably glad to get some fresh tyres on. It did look like the cars were starting to become a bit of a handful there.
Well, we're now on lap 54, so that was 52 laps of green flag running, which isn't too bad. So we're about a third of the way. These guys must be thinking, when's this going to end?
Yeah, it's going to be a punishing night for a lot of these drivers, and they're going to be, well, you'd say earning their money tonight. That's the sort of term you'd use, but it's going to be a tough one for many of these drivers, especially the ones that are carrying that bit of damage. It just makes those cars just a little bit harder to work with.
It does, and just having a look here to see, you got Jackson Callow sitting there in third, and Riley Curtis in fourth. You got Ashley Lear in fifth, so I don't know, a lot of aggressive drivers there around them. Bruce Smith's normally very clean, quiet, but fast, so I expect Jason to get the jump away when we go back green again, but the guys behind him, they might try to get a little bit aggressive early on fresh tyres.
Yes, the restart, of course, is always always tricky, and it's you just got to hope you get everything right. You hope you just don't snag a gear. You hope you don't sort of light up the rears too much. You've just got to be careful not to get sort of too much spin on the wheels, of course, because you can really lose quite a few positions on these restarts. And on a track like this as well, where grip is... It's not the best track for grip. Is sometimes you can struggle that little bit.
You can, and are the lights out on the safety car? I think they are.
The lights are out on the safety car. Yes, it looks like it will be coming in this lap.
All right. So as we come into turn 3, they're all forming up again, and it'll be Jason Martin on the inside front row from Bruce Smith. Jackson Callow on the inside of second row, and Riley Curtis on the outside of the second row. So just waiting for the pace car to peel off, and there it goes. And Jason Martin's away straight away. He didn't even wait, did he?
Nope, he was like a whippet there, just straight off and away he went.
Well, it's worked for him all night. Make the gap, run.
And you do want to do that. You want to try and get, if you can get out of the way of people, you're not going to get involved in incidents.
Well, if you've got clean air yourself, you can use the whole track. You can go get a lower run out of 4, and the same, you can run high into 1 and then low out of 2. So you've got that speed advantage up the straights. If you're battling with somebody, you can't do that. You can't hold your line too well, and you're going to compromise your exit speed onto the straights.
Yes, and of course, when you're behind a car as well, you do get just that little bit less downforce, and it disrupts the car's air, of course, things like that, and it can really affect it. And also the other thing is it can mean you chew up your tyres a little bit quicker. Just that clear air does mean you, as we were saying earlier, sometimes if you push a bit too hard in clean air, you can chew up your tyres a bit quickly. But the same goes when you're following somebody, because the car just slides out a little bit more, and you just get that little bit of extra sliding from left to right. It means that the tyres are going to get hotter quicker, they're going to start to go away from you quicker, and it can cause problems. But it does look like Bruce Smith is catching now. He's managed to sort of get back onto the tail of Jason Martin without too much trouble from that restart, which is good news. It looks like we've got a good battle for the lead about to start happening. Jason Martin just running a little bit high there on the line. not losing too much time, but Bruce Smith is definitely catching him.
Yeah, I think Jason's in for a bit of a fight tonight with Bruce. Like he's closing right up on him now going into turn 1 and 2. I just got a feeling that this is going to be a bit of a battle the whole night long for Jason to hang on to this. Bruce just seems to have the speed. If you get past him, I'll be honest, I suspect he might actually have a bit of a pace advantage if he had clean air.
Yeah, it does look like Bruce Smith's car, the number 18, has got the speed advantage tonight. It does look like it is the slightly faster car, which can absolutely happen on these tracks, and in stock cars, as sometimes you do have that faster car, but not always in the lead. It's a bit of a sort of strange place to be, a bit of a strange situation to have as well in motorsport. You sort of always think the fastest car is guaranteed to win and guaranteed to be in first place, but it's not always the way it happens. It can really happen where sometimes the faster car is just, it might just be a little bit trickier to drive. It might be faster over a single lap, but over a long period it might just be a little bit slower. But it does look like Jason Martin's he's just got that car just really handling well for him at the moment. It just seems like he's got the ability to keep a steady pace, which is an absolute benefit on this kind of track.
It is indeed, and track position's king, always is in any kind of motorsport, but especially at a small 1 mile oval such as this, when you've got so many cars on track, you need that track position to be able to take advantage. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. We'll watch it for the next, 90 odd laps, but I just have this funny feeling that Bruce Smith's got something there that he hasn't been able to show yet. If he gets a chance, I think Jason Martin could be in for a bit of a fright.
He could be, and I think Jason Martin just took a little bit of a bump into the wall there on turn 3, I think. Turn 3, I'm trying to work out my corners. Just looks like he just caught the tail into the wall just very, very slightly. Probably not much damage at all there, if any, but the car's not looking as fast as it was at the start of the race.
So, while they move that out there, we've got a little bit of a challenge on here for 3rd and 4th between Riley Curtis and Jake Maloney. It looks like Jake Maloney's just taken that position. Riley Curtis has sat there for the last 60-odd laps, so he's kind of come out of nowhere, hasn't he?
He has, absolutely, and really coming up well there. Looks like Roger Clark, unfortunately, has retired from the race.
Yep, so Roger's our first retirement, but looking back here now, looks like Ashley Lear's just got Riley Curtis as well, so I'm wondering if Riley hasn't got a little bit of damage, if he hasn't clipped a wall earlier on or something.
Yes, it might have just been a slight clip on one of the walls, and you just tap the back of the car and it can just shake it out of balance a little bit and just slow you down that tiny bit and let people catch you. Not really surprised to see Ashley Lear catching though. He's generally there or thereabouts through most of the races this season. He's been having a fantastic drive so far.
Yeah, you're right there, Carl, and I mean, it's evidenced by the fact he's sitting 4th in the championship right now, and he's very consistent normally, and if he's not challenging for the win, he's close up the front there, and well, we'll see how he moves his way forward. So,
and that's the thing, Brett. He's just been consistent all year. He's just been driving very sensibly. He's been keeping out of accidents. He's sort of not been taking too many risks through the races, and it has paid off for him. He's had a fantastic season, and it shows with his championship position currently.
It does. It's not always winning every race, is it? Consistency, collect the points, be there or thereabouts, be in a position to take the win if you can, but otherwise, yeah, top 5s, top 3s all season. It's can't do you any harm, can it?
And sorry, just to cut you off there, Hayden Dodman looks like he's really struggling right now. He was just grinding it along the wall there, and it looks like he's having a real tough time with the car. He was basically running down the side of the wall pretty much all down the back straight pretty much. So the back straight's got a nice new paint job, but he is really not having a good time out there tonight. It's not his night, obviously.
Well, Carl, it comes back to what we said earlier, doesn't it?
And just to cut you off, Dave Douglas has just had a big hit into the wall. Currently he's sitting in 19th position. He's managed to keep the car going, but he had a big smack coming into turn 4. The car is looking like it's taken a bit of damage. He's just giving it a bit of a wiggle down the straight, just trying to figure out how bad the steering's gone, but it looks like he has taken a big smack there, unfortunately. He's currently sitting in 19th position, but he did just take a big whack into the wall.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's looks like a few of them are, because I was just about to say Stephen Williams, one of the other normally quick guys in the field, looks like to be struggling as well. He's just clipped the wall a couple of times in the last few laps, so that happened just before you called out Dave Douglas, unfortunately, and it looks like we're going to a caution. We do. What has happened? I can't see anybody off, to be honest.
No, I can't see anything that's happened there, unfortunately.
I'm just having a bit of a scan through and see if I can try to get an idea of where this might have happened.
Yeah, we'll have a bit of a look for that, see what we had, but looks like everybody's looks like Jason Martin's just feigning going into the pits, maybe trying to lure people in. Will he go in? Won't he go in? That's the big question. But it does look like he's going into the pits, and in he goes.
Yeah, get some fresh tyres, go out. No loss to him. It's yeah, look, I don't know what's happened there, Carl. I've just had a bit of a scan through, and I cannot for the life of me work out.
That's debris. A debris caution on the track. So there was debris on the racing line, so we're just going to get that swept off the track with the fantastic digitally made brushes, and we will get back to racing soon, hopefully. Not a long caution period.
Oh no, looks like Riley Curtis missed his pit box. He's had to reverse and get back into his box, so he'll lose a few spots there again. Jason Martin's out very, very smartly. Looks like Jackson Callow and Bruce Smith are arguing over second there, coming out of the pits, but yep. Bruce prevails.
Bruce got the won the race out of the pits there, thankfully, and it would have been a shame to lose a position in the pits for him. He's been having a fantastic race so far.
Yeah, well, Jackson can be pretty quick himself, and he had a fantastic race on Monday night with Chris Purnell in the truck series, and ultimately came second to Chris. But he led some laps, and very, very, very aggressive but controlled driver most of the time. So he's now up there, and I suspect he's going to try to nibble away at Bruce a little bit, which will probably give Jason a bit of a breathing space off the restart, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things of, if you start getting that battle behind going on, then of course there won't be that, they won't be catching so quickly. So Jason Martin might get quite lucky if they do start fighting. Of course, if they don't start fighting and do just start following each other, they might catch Jason Martin up, and he could lose a couple of positions very quickly. Just depends on how they want to play it.
Yeah, well, Jason Martin's, I don't know, he's looking pretty strong here. As I say, I'm still curious about what Bruce has got up his sleeve. He's got that feel of just hanging back there waiting for his moment to me. But, either that or he's fighting tooth and nail just to hang on to Jason. It's hard to tell unless you're in the car with him, isn't it? Yes,
that's it. It's never easy to know, and it's times like this, you wish you could talk to the driver and just ask how they were going. But it's very hard to talk and drive, unfortunately. There are a couple of drivers in history that had that ability. The great, like Peter Brock, of course, was quite good at talking and driving. But it's a rare talent indeed, and it takes a lot of skill to be able to drive and talk when you're racing. Unfortunately, in those situations, you usually end up needing to have a censor button as well, because drivers are not known for their most clean of language.
That's one way to put it, yes. So I think the lights are out on the pace car now.
So we'll be going back to the restart, and because I missed it for the actual start of the race, boogity, 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 let's go racing.
Better late than never. So we've got Jason Martin off the inside front, followed by Bruce. Pace car's off. And Jason's holding it back this time.
Jason's holding up, and he's got a good start, but Bruce looks like he's managed to hold on quite well with that. Jason was just trying to back everybody up there, but Bruce has actually kept on really well. So Bruce Smith in the number 18 has managed to keep relatively close, but he did run just a little bit high on that restart on turn 2, and has just lost a little bit of pace there.
Yeah, I don't think that quite worked out the way Martin planned it that time. I think he's been doing the early run. Oh no! It looks like Jackson Callow was just hip and shouldered by, who was it? Jake Maloney, I think it was. Looks like Jackson's gathered it all up again, but he's lost about 3 or 4 places there, unfortunately.
That is a big shame.
So it's Martin out front from Smith, and then Maloney, Ashley Lear, and here's a name we haven't seen tonight, is James Robbie up in 5th. So he's worked his way through the field reasonably well.
Yeah, he's been working up there pretty silently, which is sometimes a good thing to do if you can get there being a bit of a stealth driver. If you're not having any incidents on the track, if you can just sneak your way up the field, it's a good way of doing it.
Well, he's just been lurking back there at the bottom of the top 10 where he started, and I think now he's starting to just creep forward a little bit. But Jake Maloney's looking fairly quick at the moment on fresh tyres, so let's see if he's got anything for Smith.
Yes, and Jason Martin is pulling out a bit of a lead now. He's definitely it looks like this set of tyres suits him a little bit better than the last set. He's having a little bit of a better time, and we have got a caution again.
No. I'm assuming this time someone's collected the wall.
Yeah, just having a quick look through the field, see what I can spot there.
Yeah, I'm just having a bit of a scan through now to see what might have happened. Looks like Dwayne Priest may have had a moment in this. I'm just checking now. So he's gone into turn 1 on the outside of Chris Purnell, and he's just lost it, and he's gone into the back of the 14 car, but just ahead of them was someone else having their own moment at the same time, which has compounded it for several people, unfortunately.
So the old multiple accidents happening at the same time syndrome.
Yeah, was it Ben Doherty? Yeah, it looks like it might have been Ben Doherty. Actually, had his own moment just in front of the initial incident, and a few guys have cleaned him up the way through. Looks like they've all got going again, but they'll all have varying levels of damage, I suppose, and you'll probably see a few of them come into the pits right now.
Interestingly, Bruce Smith's actually come into the pits himself. He's come in for this caution again. It's going to lose him quite a bit of track position, but it could put him in a good position later on in the race.
Fuel. What lap are we on? We're running lap 80. So, yeah, he'll be coming in for his final fuel top up. Yes.
So he'll be able to run to the end now on that. So this could be a really good thing for him. Looks like we had a first come in for those pit stops.
Yep. Ryan Curtis,
Michael Fallow.
Yep, they did.
Of course, a lot of people that were sort of down the back of the field. Of course. You're not going to lose much if you're doing that down the back of the field.
Well, the flip side to this is those that didn't, or if they're going to have to make a little bit of a splash and dash possibly later on in the race. So it could have been an inspired move by Smith to come in now and just get that out of the way. A few of these guys in between him and Martin will disappear once they're waved by the pace car. But yeah, could have been the move of the night, that one. That could be turning. So around lap 80, maybe the turning point.
Yes, this could actually get Bruce Smith the win. Never want to talk too much on that one. Don't want to put the commentator's curse on him, but it does make him look good for the end of the race. We are expecting people to manage around about sort of, I think most people were talking around about sort of lap 80 for the pit stop. So around about 80 laps of fuel managing for them, so he should have enough to get to the end of the race now, and just depends how those tyres go, because that's going to be the big thing, is whether those tyres hold on as well as he hopes. and that might be the defining factor in this.
Well, based on the law of averages at the moment, you have to think that there's going to be a couple more cautions. So, where's Bruce sitting now? Let's have a look.
He's currently sitting 6th, I believe.
No, 11th.
11th. Ah, okay, there we go. Yeah. So my timing and scoring is playing up a little bit. Sorry about that.
Nope, that's okay. So the lights are out, so we'll do one more lap around. They're just forming up now.
So Jake Maloney sitting next to Jason Martin, with Ashley Lear behind them, and Josh McLemore sitting in 4th place. Edward Foster in 5th, and Michael Sherlock's actually done a fantastic job. He's currently sitting in 6th position on his debut race, which is a really good place. He's been having a fantastic drive so far.
Yeah, he's sort of popped up a couple of times in a couple of smaller incidents, but yeah, he's hanging in there, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I've noticed him a few times in a few things, but he's doing well. He's keeping the car fast, and that's the hardest thing to do. It's what you need to do on a track like this, is keep the car as fast as you can. So the pace car's gone in and the restart's happening. Jason Martin again backs everybody up and gets a good rush away. So he's managed to get a good jump on Jake Maloney. But it looks like Jake Maloney's managing to keep pace with him. Jake Maloney's getting quite close to him on the just on the exit of turn 2, getting a relatively good exit there. So we could have a bit of a race here. Jake Maloney, of course, is quite an aggressive driver sometimes, so we could see some fun action now.
Yeah, we've got a bit of hip and shoulder going on a bit further down the back. Hopefully it won't pull out another caution. It'd be good to get some green flag running. Interestingly enough, Hayden Dobman's back up to 9th. He's just behind Bruce Smith right now.
Yes, he's snuck that one up there pretty well, and car is still looking a bit of a dog's dinner, but he's managing to climb the field, and that's generally, with these top drivers, that's what they manage to do. They just, no matter what, they still manage to find a way to be up there.
They do, and interestingly enough, a few of the guys we sort of commented on it earlier that may have been having a little bit of a struggle. They're slowly working their way back up to the front, and it's kind of like cream rising to the top, isn't it? They're just slowly starting to make their way forward.
They are, and Bruce Smith's having a bit of a charge through the field. He's got up to 7th already, and he's just behind Edward Foster, I believe.
Yeah, Jake Maloney's just there, just challenging Jason at the moment, so Smith will slowly work his way through there, I think. He's had the pace all night. You'd have to expect that he'll come forward. He's got slightly fresher tyres too, so...
Yes, and it's not a big difference, it's just a couple of laps, but that couple of laps can make a big difference sort of in how the car performs. It just gives you that little bit of extra grip on the inside line, just allows you to run that lower line a little bit, just a little bit more often for a couple more laps, and that can give you a huge advantage in these sort of opening stages.
It can. He's certainly giving Foster a bit of a run at the moment, isn't he? He's certainly giving him a hard time.
He is, yes. And I think Edward Foster stayed out in that sort of round of pit stops as well, so he's just got that slightly older tyres, and it's not a big difference, but it can definitely affect it. The other thing, of course, though, is with Edward Foster is he'll have slightly less fuel on board, so that will just help a little bit with pace. Of course, when you less fuel you've got on board, the lighter the car and the slightly faster that is, but the tyre advantage might be the thing that makes the difference here, I think. And it actually has. Bruce Smith managed to get through past Edward Foster, but Edward Foster's trying to cut down below him and get past to get his position back, but it looks like Bruce Smith's just got too much pace for him and is just pulling away with ease.
Yeah, and look, I come back to it. That fuel stop, top off the fuel, he doesn't have to stop for fuel now. So his next stop will be faster than everybody else's. He'll take tyres and get out, whereas everyone else has to get fuel and tyres.
Yes.
He's got track position. He's up into 5th already, even despite taking that stop. Fresher tyres. Yeah, he's got something there.
It's looking like he's got a good position at the moment. He is looking very, very good for the time being.
He's definitely playing the strategy.
And he's got another caution.
Who's it for this time? Just go back and see if I can have a look. So at the end of lap 89, top 5 are Jason Martin from Jake Maloney, Ashley Lear, Josh Micklemore, and Bruce Smith. I'm just going back now to have a look, Carl, and see if I can work out what happened.
Yeah, so we'll just keep an eye on that.
Looks like it was Riley Curtis, yeah.
Maybe we should have a replay coming up in a couple of moments.
Okay, yeah. So coming onto the back straight out of turn 2, looks like Stephen Williams may have just gotten up into the fence and it's backed up. Who is it behind him? Darren McKenzie and Riley Curtis, yeah.
Yeah, the big old off there, unfortunately. Not a nice incident there. Quite a few people going quite heavily onto the infield.
Yeah, and it's taken a few of them with him, hasn't it?
It has. At least 3 or 4 cars involved in that. I didn't quite see who was actually involved.
Phil Otto, Riley Curtis, Stephen Williams, Darren McKenzie. But the worst loser out of this was probably Riley Curtis. He was sitting back there in 5th or 6th. He just didn't seem to have the pace after that last stop, did he? And it kind of got himself a little bit further back down the field than he was. So got him back into the mess at the mid-pack.
Yeah, so it looks like everybody's jumped into the pits as well. So we'll just let it shake out a little bit and get everything back to normal. But it looks like Bruce Smith managed to get into first place, unsurprisingly. He did not stop there, but it looks like Bruce Smith and possibly Edward Foster stayed out there.
Yeah, so it looks like Foster's playing a slightly longer game as well. But Bruce Smith taking the lead. For me, this has been the fascinating thing all night. I've mentioned it a few times now, and yeah, as we go to lap 91 right now under the pace car, he's out in front. And
well, what I'm looking forward to is actually seeing how Bruce Smith pulls out from here, because the 18 has looked fast all night, and we're going to actually see it for the first time in clear air. We'll be able to see how much of a lead he can pull out, see if he can actually get that car getting a bit of a gap ahead, and it could really affect this race. Jason Martin could have a bit of a problem now. He's going to actually have to climb his way back up through the field. It sort of looks like nobody else, possibly Edward Foster's going to have to stop again, but other than that, everybody else should make it to the end on this tank of fuel.
Well, let's see if Bruce Smith bears my theory correct or makes a liar out of me on the belief that he's got the pace if he's got the clean air and the track to use. After the restart, he'll have a clear track in front of him, and if he gets a decent restart, he should just make a nice gap for himself, because I think Jason's going to struggle to get past Foster, Priest and Callow. But anyway, so I think the lights are out on the safety car now. They're all forming up on the back stretch. So we'll have what do we got here? We've got Bruce Smith will lead them away on the inside of the front row, with Foster on the outside, Priest on the inside of the second row, and Callow on the outside of the second row. And then behind them is Jason Martin and Jake Maloney. That's an interesting little pack there. Yeah,
we might have some good racing. So Bruce Smith's now going to be letting the car go. He's just backing the field up a little bit, and away he goes. Yeah. Beautiful restart there by Bruce Smith. He got a fantastic leap there. Edward Foster just caught a little bit on the behind there as he was backed up. So Bruce Smith's got a fantastic jump there through for the restart.
A little bit of contact there between Foster and Priest. Nearly gave Jason Martin a chance up the inside, didn't it, coming out of 2?
Yes. Yeah, they're going to be battling hard, those two. Edward Foster is a pretty tough battler. He's not one to give up positions easily. I know from experience.
Yeah, here they go again. They just touch doors again, coming out of 3. So Foster's got the upper hand at the moment, but you know, Priest isn't giving up, is he?
No, Priest is just holding back. He's just losing back, and Jason Martin's just falling back a little bit as well. He's just caught in that pack. We've got a very tight pack now. with Edward Foster leading. Chris just, car number 46 there, just gives Foster a bit of a tap into the corner, and just makes him run a little bit wide. And we have another caution.
Oh, what a shame. That was shaping up to be a great little battle, that. And I bet Bruce Smith is a little bit annoyed about that one, because that battle was just, yeah, it was just allowing him to run away, wasn't it? Foster was just keeping all the others at bay, and while they fought, he just ran away with it. Let's see if he can do it again on the next restart.
Yes, hopefully he'll be hoping for another restart like he had before. He really got the jump on everybody. He got at least a 4 or 5 car length lead there from the restart.
So I'm just having a look now to see what happened. Just trying to find out why we've gone to yellow again on lap 95.
Yeah, not seeing anything obvious at the moment.
Oh, did I just see Smith pull into the pits? He did too. Smith has just gone into the pits for fresh tyres. At the
really
last second.
Interesting strategy there.
At the last second, he literally just came across in front of the wall and went down into the pits. Foster's not been in for a good 25, 26 laps now, and Priest has probably got about 17, 18 laps on his tyres. This is interesting. I'm not really sure why he would have done that.
No, maybe he's just getting an extra splash of fuel. Maybe he's just not getting the fuel mileage that he was expecting to have. Of course, that can be something that you do have that trouble sometimes. Sometimes you do, running out in the front, you do sort of use that little bit more fuel. Obviously, he didn't get much running out in front, though. And with the safety car, it's going to mean that you do have a bit more fuel left on board. But maybe he's hoping that everybody's going to need to do at least one more stop, and he's going to put himself out of sequence.
Maybe, but I tell you what, he's dropped himself a long way back down the field.
Yeah, it's a bit of a risky risky strategy, really.
Well, it is. I mean, he was leading, and he's now down in, by my reckoning, around 18th, 19th.
Yeah, he's dropped very far back. Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher, really.
Right. Well, you know, he seemed to be playing strategy all night. Let's just see if maybe this is all part of the strategy. I don't know.
We won't be able to tell until the end. That's the main thing.
Several laps in, I would have expected him maybe to pit for tyres, but not that quick.
No, it's very strange. If anybody was to pit for tyres, I would expect Edward Foster. Edward Foster's currently the only car, by the looks of it, on 2 stops. He's only had 2 pit stops this whole race. Everybody else is sitting on at least 3 stops. So he's really, he's having a fantastic time with the tyres, he's just keeping the tyres really fresh, or he's really just sort of trying for something very, very different for his strategy here.
Now, what we're about to find out, and yeah, I don't know. I'm at a bit of a loss personally, but anyway, let's wait and see what he does. In the meantime, we'll focus back up the front now, and as they're forming up and the lights are out on the safety car right now, we've got Edward Foster leading from Dwayne Priest, Jason Martin in 3rd, Jackson Callow in 4th, and Jake Maloney in 5th, with Josh Mickelmore beside.
Yeah, it's all working out very well for Jason Martin by the looks of it.
Doesn't it? But I mean, you know, look, he's been there all night. Let's be fair. He just kind of got caught up a little bit in that last sequence of stops and just pushed him back a little bit. So, you know, I mean, he'll be right on Foster's tail here because his tyres are so much fresher than Foster's. So yeah. Anyway, pace car's about to peel off. And we'll see what sort of a start he can get. So
if Edward Foster can get a decent restart, and he's going quite hard for it, and he's managed to get a pretty decent start there. He's managed to pull away from the field quite well. So if he can keep that sort of bit of lead going, then it could be very good for him. Jason Martin there just trying on the inside of Dwayne Priest, but he is just dropping back a little bit. He's keeping pace, but he's Jake Maloney's sort of catching on them all there. The car number 46 there of Jackson Callow just almost went into the back of Jason Martin, but Edward Foster's managed to pull up a good little lead from the pack.
Yeah, I'd say Foster was hoping hoping there that Priest would sort of bottle everybody up going into turn 1 to give him a little bit of a gap, but you can already see they're going to swamp him. He'll struggle to keep the lead here because his tyres are so much older than everybody. Oh, 3 wide down the back straight. Jason Martin up the middle. Wow. Who's that? Jake Maloney down the inside.
Really good move. Jake Maloney, and
he's pushed up into Jason Martin, and that's hurt Dwayne Priest as well, hasn't it?
Priest has dropped way back there. He's dropped so far back from that fight. That's really hurt him.
Oh.
And Jake Maloney's just going down the inside of Edward Foster, and we've got another caution.
Another caution, eh?
And I do wonder if we're going to see Edward Foster now just dart into the pits and just see if... I wonder if a few people are actually going to pit now, just because with 49 laps to go, it would mean they'll have very fresh tyres and they'll definitely have enough fuel to the end.
Oh, absolutely. And you've got to start thinking here too that Bruce Smith was banking on this. He worked his way up into 14th when this all started. And you've got to think that he was going, well, everyone else is going to have to pit. I'll sit back here and hope that I don't get hurt.
And cautions breed cautions generally. That's the thing, is a yellow flag is generally going to bring out another yellow flag, because when you have that restart, your tyres are slightly cold, the car's not up to temperature, there is more chance, because everybody's sort of bottled up and very close to each other, that you are going to get another yellow flag. But
oh, wow, yeah, sorry to interrupt you there. I just managed to find out what brought out that caution, and Darren McKenzie, he had a big one on going over the start-finish line. Looks like he came together with... Give me a minute. Gavin Sadler turned him around into the inside wall, and as he bounced back, he was collected by somebody else. I'm just trying to work out who that was.
Oh, that is a real big shame there. Oh, that is a very big off for sure. That is a very nasty hit. That's going to cause quite a lot of damage. The car number 75.
Yeah, that's Darren McKenzie. I'm just trying to work out who hit him. Was it Daniel Stevens? He had nowhere to go as McKenzie just spun in front of him.
Yeah, that was a very nasty little situation there.
Well, okay. So what's that? 5 cautions now, is it?
5 by my count. Of course, I could be wrong, but I'm thinking we're... 6 cautions. There we go. 6 cautions. Thank you to our lovely producer there, Matt, who's doing a fantastic job as ever. The voice behind the scenes.
Yes, if it wasn't for Matt, we'd be lost. So thank you, Matt. As always, you're doing a stellar job. Thank you.
He's the only one that keeps us not talking gibberish.
Pretty much. So, all right. So where are we here? So Foster's stayed out. He hasn't come in. Doesn't look like any of the front runners have actually come in, to be honest. So anyone sort of 15 and up pretty much just stayed out by the looks of it. So what do we got here?
Yeah,
We've got Edward Foster, Jake Maloney, Jason Martin, Ashley Lear, Josh Micklemore, Jackson Callow. Chris Purnell's worked his way up into 7th. What a fight back for Chris. And right behind him is Hayden Dobman, another great fight back. So poor old Dwayne Priest, he's gone from 2nd back to 9th out of all of that. And Danny G is up into 10th.
Yeah, Danny G could be a bit of a sleeper, I reckon. Somebody to really watch out for towards the end of this race. It's just going to be... It's really interesting to see what Edward Foster's doing here. I've known him for a while, and I know he's quite a good strategist. So he may be trying to go to the end from here and just hoping that he's got that little bit of speed to keep out in front, which would be a very good drive from him, considering his tyres will be getting a little bit sort of worse for wear by now for sure. But his sort of track position is sometimes the most important thing. So if he gets another good restart and manages to have a bit of a fight behind him with Jake Maloney and Jason Martin and Ashley Lear, of course, if they start having a bit of a squabble, he might be able to pull out a bit of lead. And of course, if we keep getting these caution periods, it's only going to help him.
Yes, yeah. I agree to a point. I just think his tyres are getting a little bit old. He'll be marginal on fuel now. He'll have to be thinking about that. whereas a few of the others like Smith and so on won't be. Yeah, maybe he's just banking on another caution. I suppose we're about to find out, aren't we, as we come around for the restart. The pace car's about to peel off.
And he's going to hope he can get another good jump that he did last time. He's just backing the cars up, and away he goes. He's got a relatively good start, but not quite as good as last time. Jake Malone's managed to keep quite a good position on him. He's going to try and go down for that inside line on Edward Foster. Edward Foster's sort of keeping it, but he is just dropping back. Jake Maloney's going to take the lead, possibly. They're sort of squabbling for position now, side by side, going through turn 2. And they're going to be quite close. And we have got another yellow flag.
We do. So, who was in the lead when that yellow came out is going to be the question.
Edward Foster was in the lead for that one, so Edward Foster is still in the lead.
So I'm just going back now to see who that was that came unstuck. It was coming out of turn 3.
So Norman Clark there, just coming unstuck, unfortunately.
And Matt Clark was involved in that as well, by the looks of it.
It's been a very tough race, and it's being expected, as we've been saying, well, as we were saying before the race started. A lot of drivers have been struggling to keep hold of these cars. They've been really struggling with grip on this track and having a hard time, especially sort of coming towards that high line and just really, really having an awful race. I've got to give it to Edward Foster here. He's been managing to keep that car very fast, but he is diving into the pits now. He's coming into the pits now, of course. It's going to have fresh tyres and the fuel towards the end. It doesn't look like any of the other front runners are coming in with him, so it's going to lose him a lot of positions. So he's possibly going to hope that everybody needs to make one more stop, I guess, but most of them have got the fuel, so it's just going to be if they've got the...
Well, it's all going to be about strategy, I guess, and...
Yeah, it's if our tyres last.
Yeah, so what are we now? Lap 108, so we've got 42 laps left of this 150 lap marathon. We've got Jake Maloney up front, Ashley Lear in second, and Jason Martin in third, with Jackson Callow in fourth, Hayden Dobman in fifth, and Josh Micklemore in sixth, Chris Purnell in seventh, Danny G in eighth, Dwayne Preece in ninth, and Bruce Smith in 10th.
Yeah, Bruce Smith might be a bit of a sleeper. With that late stop he made, could be a very good position for him to be in. We'll see how well he goes. So we'll see how it works out for him and Edward Foster, because they've both sort of had some very different strategies to the rest of the field. They've really put themselves off the strategy of everybody else, really putting themselves out of sync for the pit stops. So everybody's will have enough fuel to go to the end now for sure, but it's whether their tyres are going to make it, and that's going to be the big thing. If everybody needs to jump in for tyres, if some of the people that did stop for tyres in those sort of last couple of rounds of pit stops do start catching the leaders, it might cause everybody to need to pit because they're going to be losing a lot of time if that fresher tyre does turn out to be a better option. But we really do need to speak about Jake Maloney here. Magnificent drive coming from 22nd, I believe, from the start, all the way up to first place.
Yeah, he didn't even set a lap in qualifying, if I remember rightly. He started from the very back, and he finds himself now in the lead, interestingly. However, the freshest tyres out of the top 10 are on Bruce Smith's car.
Yes, this could work out really well for Bruce Smith, and we'll see how that goes.
Easily run green to the end here now, although the last 50, 60 odd laps have shown that cautions breed cautions, don't they? It's just such a cliche, but it's so true right now.
It is, and it's so true in all forms of motorsport. In endurance racing, which is my main passion, it just always happens, you know, especially sort of things like Le Mans. You will have a long period without any caution. All of a sudden you'll get one caution come out, safety cars will come out, and then again, sort of half a lap later, you'll get another caution. And it's just because of that sort of slightly loss of tyre pressure, slightly colder tyres. You sort of also have the mental aspect as well once you're in a caution, because you just have to, you have to keep your mind on the race, but when you're in a caution, you have time to just let your mind wander slightly. So you really do need to keep that in focus.
All right, so we're back to green now, and Jake Maloney
just put his foot straight down there. A bit of a lead foot to start there, but that's not a bad thing to do.
Question now is, can we get through the next couple of turns cleanly without another caution?
Can only hope.
So far so good, but I'm not going to count my chickens yet. Jason Martin is coming up the inside of Ashley Lear right now and challenging him for second. We've got a bit of a battle behind them as well, where they're getting 2 and 3 wide, but yeah, Jake Maloney's got that gap, he's got the fresh air. Let's see how long he can hold it for.
Yes, we'll see how well he goes. And I'm just jumping back to Edward Foster down in 19th position now, just on those fresh tyres. And he's starting to carve his way through the field. He's definitely got some pace going there. And we've got a bit of a spin there for the 41. And it's managed to keep it by the looks of it.
Looks like we've just had several hip and shoulders back there in the bottom of the top 10. We've got cars 2, 3, 4 wide at the moment. So
yeah, around about 11th place, around about the sort of 11th place sort of position, and Dodman just got a bit of a and there's a big crash. It looks like Edward Foster's just been hit into the wall from Dodman. Edward Foster just got clagged into the wall by Hayden Dodman there, so squeezed wide, and car number 10 also just going into the wall there. There's lots of people rubbing paint on the wall right now.
Yeah, it's that time of the race. They've all got slightly worn tyres. Hasn't brought out the caution, so that's a good thing. So it looks like everyone's able to continue fine. We've got Jake Maloney still with that gap, but I tell you what, Ashley Lee is slowly closing him down, and Jason Martin's going with him.
And car number 45 was just sideways going through turn 3, I believe, but managed to keep it together and again not bring out a caution, thankfully.
And up at the front then, we've got, Jason Martin is all over the back of Ashley Lear, who is beginning to really monster Jake Maloney as well. Looks like the three of them are fairly equal on pace. Looks like Martin's a little bit better under brakes into the turn, but as they come out, they're all fairly well even, and they're kind of holding station now, but you just get this feeling something's bubbling away here.
Yeah, we've got battles all through the field at the moment. It's hard to know where to look. Bruce Smith is starting to have a really good battle with Josh McLemore. He's catching at quite a fast pace. He's definitely got some speed in that car. If he gets past McLemore, he might well catch up to the back of the back of the rest of the pack. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, well, Smith's bringing Chris Purnell with him as well. So if Michelmore can't hang on, Bruce Smith will probably work the back of him until he gets past, I'd say. He's all over him at the moment. And Purnell's sitting there ready to pounce if anything goes wrong here as well. It looks like he's giving himself a little bit of space in case it all turns bad. But up at the front, Maloney's still holding on from Lear and Martin. No one seems to be getting the edge over anyone here. It's a bit of a chess battle at the moment by the looks of it at the front.
It is, and Hayden Dodman is still just muscling that car around and basically running it around on the walls most of the time. He's currently sitting just ahead of Edward Foster in 14th position. They did have a bit of a tangle going through one of the turns a couple of laps ago. Dodman just squeezed Foster into the wall. So that might have caused a bit of damage to Foster's car, unfortunately, and may have just sort of put the kibosh on his strategy. But he has got some speed still in that car, but he is. It does look like he is struggling a little bit with that damage. Yeah,
and it looks like Smith just got past Michelmore as well on the last lap coming out of turn 2. So let's see if he can start to catch Jason Martin now. There's quite a gap there. What is it, about 2.8 seconds? So let's see if he can bridge that gap, because the three at the front are starting to fight, and looks like Michelmore is starting to fall back into the clutches of Chris Purnell. So, and here we go, Jason Martin coming down the main straight up the inside of Lear. Let's see if he's got anything for him, shall we? It looks like Jason's a little bit tired of sitting back there now. He's trying to make his move.
Yeah, he's obviously wanting to get back into first place. His favourite position.
Well, and rightly so too. He's used to dominating, and I think he's finding it a little bit harder this season because the competition seems to have stepped up some. But you'd have to think that he's enjoying the challenge because, you know, makes it a little bit more interesting for everybody, including him. So,
very much. It's always fun to win, but and
another caution.
And it looks like Stephen Williams, possibly. Stephen Williams and Edward Foster had a bit of a tangling there. Edward Foster's car.
Yeah, I'm just going back now to have a look. It looks like Edward got a nudge from somebody first. James Foster. Well, bit of an inter-family punch-up going on, I guess, coming out of turn 4. So it looks like James has turned Edward around, and unfortunately he's spun in front of Williams, who had nowhere to go. So that's ruined Williams's race as well as Edward Foster's. So I guess
a real shame there.
I guess the brothers will be having words at the end of this one, Carl.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be going for dinner with those two in the next couple of weeks, that's for sure.
Oh, what a shame. Edward was doing very, very well tonight. He was just working his way through the field. Just hasn't paid off tonight, has it? When you start getting back there, though, as we said, that's what happens. So in they all come. Well, who was that faked in and then faked back out again? Josh Micklemore. He's stayed out. He went to come in, and he just fainted straight back out at the last second. So everyone else has come in. Yeah, Martin and Lear and Smith and everybody else has. So interesting tactic there.
It looks like Edward Foster's also stayed out on track with that damage to his car. So looks like he's staying out currently. Don't know if he's going to give it a bit of a go, just see how well he can go with that damage to his car. Obviously, with Hayden Dodman, he's proven that a damaged car is not necessarily a solo car this evening. He's kept it reasonably well all race, so it'll be interesting to see how Edward goes with this.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if he doesn't struggle pretty bad, because he really got hit hard by Williams on that front stretch.
Yeah, the car's looking second-hand at the moment. Well, not even second-hand actually. It's looking like a bit of a write-off job, but there's not much you can do in this situation. You've just got to give it a try, I guess. So I think he might just be giving it a go and just seeing what he can do with what he's got.
Well, it sets up a very interesting finale as well, because right now we're on lap 124. So we're going to have a 25-lap sprint, assuming there's no cautions. Everyone's on fresh tyres except for Foster and Micklemore. Obviously, they feel like they can get there on those tyres. But Jason Martin and Jake Maloney, Ashley Lear, Bruce Smith and Chris Purnell are right behind them, and Danny G as well, all on fresh tyres. So
so Foster and Micklemore, I think, stopped around about lap 99 or 9, so around about 95 to lap 100. So their tyres are about 20 laps old, 24 laps old at least. So not the best, but they're not in the worst condition. And a lot of drivers were saying that tyres were not really feeling like a big difference maker this evening. So it might be a good position for Josh Micklemore. He might be in a good spot at the moment. And I've got a feeling like Edward Foster is going to have a bit of the red on his vision. Just he's going to be really trying to get something out of this race now.
Well, he stayed out there, so maybe the damage isn't as bad as it looked. But anyway, they're forming up now. The lights are out on the safety car. We'll have a 25-lap run to the flag, with any luck green, with Josh Micklemore leading him off. So, look, Josh's tyres are nearly 36 laps old, Carl. So maybe tyres aren't really an issue at all, as you said.
That's it. And looks like we've got Jason Martin just sitting back there, just in third place, with Jake Maloney there next to him. So could be an interesting restart. So safety car's just about to go in, and away we will be going very, very shortly.
And in it goes, and off Bicklemore goes.
Bicklemore gets a very good drive there off the corner, and looks like Jason Martin's got the inside line there. He's got a good position. He's getting past Edward Foster now. Edward Foster is just dropping back that a little bit. Looks like the car is not quite as fast as the ones around him.
Wow, Jason Martin. Is Bicklemore just a sitting duck here?
It does look like it. Jason Martin looks like he has got some serious speed there. He's going right on the inside line, and looks like Bicklemore just scraping the wall. Nothing major, just a little bit of paint maybe on the wall. But Jason Martin definitely has the speed on the inside line at the moment.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. Fresh tyres makes a difference. You know what I mean? Even just from a confidence point of view.
And Ashley Lear's getting past now. Ashley Lear, and again, Ashley Lear is just up there once more. Relatively quiet race from Ashley Lear, as usual. One of those drivers that just manages to just position himself in a really good position, and you barely talk about them.
Yeah, well, he's always there, as you say, and he's always fairly consistently challenging there or thereabouts, so no real surprise there, to be honest.
No, but a car to watch out for is Bruce Smith, currently sitting in 5th position, or 4th position actually, I think.
Yep, 4th,
and he's just coming up on Jake Maloney at the moment, and that car has had a lot of pace in it all night, so we could see this car getting back to the front of the field, and hopefully we'll see another good battle between him and Jason Martin.
Well, the one thing that Smith wouldn't have wanted to see was cars between him and Martin at the front. His strategy seemed to be working quite well for him there for a while, but it's just gone a bit awry with all those cautions in the last 50, 60 laps, hasn't it?
That's it. It's always a gamble. That's the thing. You have to sometimes make that gamble. He had track position.
In the back too. Sorry to interrupt you, Carl. Just coming onto the yeah, it's brought out a caution.
A caution.
I'm not sure who it was. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. And I'll just go back and see if I can figure out who that was. Looks like it might have been Bicklemore, you know?
Yeah, he has dropped down the field quite a lot, actually.
He might have had a bit of an incident with Chris Purnell.
Hopefully we'll be able to get a replay of that one.
Looks like Jackson Callow might have been part of that too. So yeah, coming onto the main straight, it looks like possibly Bicklemore might have just got a little bit out of shape, or just backed up Chris Purnell a little bit. There was a little bit of contact, unfortunately, and it just was enough to cause Josh to hit the wall, unfortunately. So that ends.
Real shame.
That ends what was a real run, wasn't it? But I mean, staying out on those tyres was probably the mistake for him tonight.
It was a gamble, and it did not pay off.
No. Okay, so yeah, Josh Bicklemore got held up by Jackson Callow. So Callow sort of backed him up a little bit. So.
And Jason Martin's just feigning towards the pit lane there, just seeing if he can fool anyone to come in with him. A usual tactic now for Jason Martin. We see that pretty much every race now. They might start calling it the Jason Martin special.
Yeah, well, I was just having a look there too. It looks like Callow's teammate Dwayne Priest hit the pit wall as that was all unfolding. And unfortunately for Matt Clute, he just basically ploughed into him. Not quite sure how he managed to plough into the pit wall, to be honest. I'm just trying to have a look now and see how that happened.
That is not a very nice thing to happen. That's gonna take the car out for the race, probably.
Right. So it looks like Priest came off turn 4. He was trying to hold the yellow line down on the apron very, very tight. Got it out of shape, and unfortunately, he's literally gone head on into the end of the pit wall.
Very nasty incident there.
So anyway, bad luck for Matthew Clute as well, because look, at the end of the day, Matt was actually up there in the championship before tonight too. He was sitting in 4th in the championship, so it's been a unfortunate night for him on that front.
Yes, it's not been a good night for many of the championship leaders, really. Of course, Hayden Dodman's not had a...
Except for Jason Martin, that is.
Well, of course. He's not only good, but he's also Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but unfortunately for him, he has both.
Well, take it when you can get it. That's the thing, isn't it? Take it when you can get it. And right now, Martin's out in the lead. I don't know that Lear's got much for him. The only one that seems to be able to challenge him is Bruce Smith, and he's sitting back in fourth off the restart. So he'll be hoping to get the jump on Lear and Maloney, but yeah, it's going to be a big ask, I think, because they're pretty quick.
Could be interesting, but this is going to be very good for Ashley Lear for the championship as well. He's currently sitting in fourth place, joint fourth place actually, and there's not many points between him and Matthew Cloyt. So he could jump him and actually get up to possibly third place in the championship. Very good, could be a very good result for him this weekend.
Oh, you're right too. I said Matt Clute was in fourth, didn't I? No, he's in third. Well, he was until tonight. Yes. So yeah, you have to. He was only 2 points in front of Lear and Mickelmore, who were both in joint fourth. So yeah, they'll jump him. So although Mickelmore maybe not so much now after that, but we'll see. He's still in 10th. He might be able to come back. But anyway, they're forming up now behind the pace car, ready to go. We're running lap 134 here, so we've got 16 laps to run. It'd be lovely to see it under green flag, to be honest, but the way things are going, it's not really looking likely, is it?
No, well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for green flag to the end, but as is usually the case, not always the easiest thing to happen. So the safety car's about to go in, the restart's about to happen. Jason Martin's likely to back the field up and then put his foot flat to the floor.
Well, we've got Danny G, Hayden Dodman, Chris Pennell, those guys sitting just behind the top four, so very quick fellas. And away we go.
Ray Martin goes. He's again got a decent restart, not quite as good as some of his others, however. Ashley Lear's managed to keep relatively close to him, and Ashley Lear is actually getting a little bit of a run there. So he's managed to keep very close to him. A really good restart by Ashley Lear there.
Yeah, he unfortunately had to try and take the higher line, didn't he? He did. Yeah, Martin closed out.
Ended up touching the wall, but this is a fantastic moment for
Bruce Smith. Yeah, down the inside of Maloney. Well played, well played.
So Bruce Smith is coming back into contention for this race. It looked like he was really making a big error with that pit stop earlier on, but this could really pay off for him. He might actually get a very decent result here.
He had to get past Maloney and Lear pretty quick to stay in touch with Martin, because if there's no more yellows, he's going to lose touch with Martin pretty quickly if he gets bottled up behind these guys.
Yeah, Martin is going to be driving the wheels off, and we've got another yellow, unfortunately.
Oh dear. All right, let's go back and see if we can find out who that was. Oh, track's blocked down at turn 4. Looks like there's Phil Otto, Riley Curtis again, unfortunately, Norman Clark, Stephen Williams. Yeah, looks like there's a few of them involved here.
Another big one. Which corner was that, sorry?
Turn 4, Carl.
Okay, and that's what we were fearing, I think. I reckon somebody's just got up into the wall and sort of just cut across the track and caught everybody out with them.
Yeah, look, it looks like a bunch of them just tried to run the low line. There was like 7 or 8 cars involved, and I'm not even going to try to unravel that, but it all started with cars being 2 and 3 and 4 wide coming off turn 4, and obviously the inevitable happened. A few got up into a couple of others, around they went, and before you knew it, there was 7 or 8 cars sitting there blocking the track to the main straights. 4
cars into turn 4 does not work, unfortunately. So yeah, a fair few cars just taken out there, and it was something that we were pretty much expecting. I must say, I was kind of waiting for that incident at turn 4 to happen, and it's a sad thing that it has happened, especially now with so few laps to run.
So yeah, okay. Well,
we have some trouble with the replays, so we do apologise about that. Always the trouble with online racing. Sometimes you get the technical difficulties. So unfortunately, we don't have the replay on that one.
All right, so a few hard luck stories tonight. I feel sorry for Riley Curtis, he was up there early on, but he's just had a string of issues, hasn't he? And it's just taken him out of the game. So, and his teammate Edward Foster was the same. So for Riley Curtis Racing tonight, it hasn't been much of a fairy tale, has it? But
no,
anyway.
it's not been as good for them as it was last race out at Daytona. They had pretty much a fantastic drive at Daytona, but this weekend has not paid off for them.
No, not at all. So, all right, so Jason Martin, Ashley Lear, Bruce Smith, Jake Maloney, Chris Pennell, Hayden Dodman, Daniel G, and Jackson Callow. That's your top 8. So, very aggressive little pack right there, isn't it?
Yeah, and you just got to say Hayden Dodman's just done an amazing job keeping his car alive, basically. That car has been... That car's spent more time in the wall than it has on the track, I think. He's done an amazing job just keeping it up there in 6th, and that's really just showing his talent. He's done a really good job just managing to keep the car alive. Of course, I think a lot of the incidents that have happened have really paid off for him, but it could have been a much worse result for him. Earlier on in the race, it was looking like he was going to be possibly even out of the race at some stages, and he's managed to keep it in the top 6. That is a fantastic job for him.
Couldn't agree more. Valuable points. He's got to stay in touch with the leaders to just keep those points ticking over on a bad day. So, but I mean, a couple of pretty notable performances here before we go green. We're just coming into turn 3 now, but you got Jake Maloney up 19 places, Chris Pennell up 15, Danny G up 19. So these guys have just got to floated to the top and had a quiet night of it, but they're up there now. So anyway, as we come around into the final 2 turns before we go green, Jason Martin leading. Right behind him is Bruce Smith, so let's just see what sort of start they all get, and if Bruce has got anything for Jason tonight like we thought he did earlier. And
away he goes, and Jason Martin again just gets that great restart. He's managed to pull at least 2 or 3 cars away. Bruce just gives Ashley Lear a little tap, and Ashley Lear's going round.
Oh, there's been contact.
And Ashley Lear has done an amazing job keeping that. He has kept it on the track. Fantastic work by Ashley Lear. He's not going to be happy about that, but he did keep it in position. He's dropped back to around about 7th, but an amazing job keeping that under control. Fantastic work.
Oh, contact between Dodman. Oh no, the teammates just turned each other around. Oh no, Ashley Lear just turned Dodman around. There was contact just before that with Purnell and Dodman, and it slowed Dodman up, and then his teammate got into the back of him and turned him around.
That is a real shame.
That's going to be a difficult conversation tonight. So yeah, turn 3, Dodman got up into Purnell, slowed him up a little bit, and unfortunately Ashley Lear just had the run on Dodman then and just turned him around. Coming into turn 4, I'm not sure who else got caught up in that then, but looks like there was a few.
And back under yellow we go. Yeah, that was a real shame there. Amazing save by Ashley Lear, but yeah, unfortunately going into his teammate, not so good. There's going to be a few unhappy people there.
Yeah, so Jackson Callow was involved in that. Looks like, I think it might have been Michael Skurlock. Yeah, it was. Michael Skurlock also got involved in that as well, so...
That's a shame, but Michael Skurlock is still sitting in 9th position, by the looks of things. I was actually going to have a talk about him. He's on his debut race. He's done a fantastic job so far. He's just sitting behind Hayden Dodman currently. He's had a pretty incident-filled race. It's definitely been an exciting first race for him, but... yes, unfortunately, he's not sort of been the cause of any accidents, but he has been basically involved in many just not his fault. He's been a passenger in many of these sort of little accidents and spins on the track.
He has. But there's going to be a few interesting conversations after this. You've got brothers that got into each other a little bit earlier in Edward and James Foster. You've got teammates in Ashley Lear and Hayden Dodman, and yeah, there's going to be a few intra-family and intra-team conversations, I would say, at the end of this one.
Yes, I'm not looking forward to some of the post-race interviews, I must say that. I imagine they're going to be a little bit... there's going to be enough salt there to keep people's chips salted for a few years, I reckon.
I think you could be onto something there, but look, at the moment we've got Jason Martin and Bruce Smith up the front, so I don't know. Look, I've got to tell you, I still think Bruce Smith has got something, unless Jason Martin pulls it out. I mean, it's a six-lap sprint by the looks of it to the end.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's going to be interesting. If Bruce Smith can actually get the restart nailed, he could have it here. Jason Martin's been having that. He's just been pulling away at the restart so often. He's just backed the field up and just sort of got everybody nice and sort of close, and then pulled himself away and got at least a 4-car lead into the first corner. But if Bruce Smith can actually predict when he's going to put his foot down, then he may get him. Yeah,
it's very hard though, Carl, because if you're the leader and you're pacing the field, even that 10th is enough to give you that runaway. You know, unless Jason Martin messes it up going into turn 1 or coming out of turn 2, yeah, Smith's only going to have a few laps to try to pounce on him. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Could be an interesting couple of laps. Bruce Smith there just giving the car a big old acceleration, just getting past Martin there. Just sort of possibly just doing a little bit of mental
psyching out, you think? Hello, I'm here, don't forget I'm here.
But the other thing he just did there is he did light up the rear tyres and get some heat into them, and that's really important. If you can get some heat in those rear tyres, you're just going to get slightly better drive out that restart.
Excellent.
So the pace car is coming in right now.
Excellent pickup, Carl. A little bit of heat gives you that little bit of grip because they cool off while they're just rolling around. So, all right, so pace car's peeling off.
A bit of bounce.
Away we go. Oh!
There we go.
Did Lear just run up the back of Smith then?
Yeah, actually Lear just ran up the back of Smith, just ran straight into the back, and and Smith's
just gone down the outside.
Martin is going around. Jason Martin's gone around. Jason Martin has gone around into the back,
and it's
huge crash. Massive.
Wow, what just happened then, Carl? I'm really not sure.
Ashley Lear went into Jason Martin by the looks of things, and Ashley Lear ended up spinning, and then basically was sideways collecting the rest of the field there. That was a huge incident. Yeah, Ashley Lear's just spun around and collected everybody. Jason Martin's dropped way, way back. This could be a huge benefit for Bruce Smith, possibly, but with that damage to Bruce Smith now, that could really be a big problem. The one that comes out of that really well is Jake Maloney. He's actually taken the lead. And with only a couple of laps to go under yellow, it looks like Jake Maloney might get this win.
So this looks like it all started with Bruce Smith basically just sending it down the outside into turn 1. It got Jason Martin a little bit off guard, and the car started to just wobble a little bit, and then it just checked up enough for Ashley Lear.
I think it actually started at the just before the restart, as Ashley Lear went into the back of Bruce Smith as they were forming up for that restart. Bruce Smith was Ashley Lear just ran into the back of Bruce Smith just as they were getting ready for the restart, and I think it just put Bruce slightly out of sync. It gave him a little bit of an extra push, but it sort of ended up causing him quite a lot of damage in the rear, and possibly making the car just handle a little bit off on that corner. Then he ran into the side of Jason Martin, and Jason Martin, of course, went round with the aid of Ashley Lear. Ashley Lear sort of started spinning it. Ashley Lear went completely round, then collected... I did not see who it was, but there were a few cars that got collected in that crash. That was definitely a big one.
Well, that's taken Lear out of the equation completely, because he's dropped down to 20th now. It doesn't look like Smith's actually got too much damage, to be honest with you. He's sitting in second now behind Maloney, with Chris Burnell in third and Jackson Callow in fourth. So, wow, I just didn't see that coming. Smith just absolutely flew down the outside, and he just caught Martin off guard, and he just seemed to get the wobbles. I mean, the car just checked up, and that's when Lear hit him.
Yeah, well, as I said, at the restart there, Lear went into the back of Smith and really did cause some damage to the rear of his car, and I just wonder if if it's... Well, obviously it's changed the handling of the car, so going into turn 1, he's just lost it that little bit. Jake Maloney is just looking... Well, he's just basically keeping out of trouble there, has got himself into a fantastic position. And Bruce Smith has actually going into pulling off from the track, it looks like.
Okay, and why would that be, I wonder? He's actually... What's he doing?
I don't know, but Bruce Smith looks like he's retired from the race.
He does, doesn't he? He's in the pits.
So
Okay.
I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not sure if there was a penalty or anything involved.
No, he just pulled over and... Yeah, he's just... Basically just pulled off out of the race. Car's sitting in the pits, so... Alright, look, to be honest with you, this is going to finish under yellow. We're on lap 150, so our winner is Jake Maloney after all of that, with Chris Purnell in second, Jackson Callow third, Joshua Carroll Walden in fourth, Hayden Dodman in fifth, Edward Foster in sixth, yeah. James Foster in seventh, so they were still together. Jason Martin, the loser out of all of that, down in eighth.
Well, honestly, I think the biggest loser in all of that was Bruce Smith and Ashley Lear. They just completely cost themselves a huge amount of positions there. But fantastic drive from Jake Maloney. He just kept the car out of trouble. If you actually look at that car, it's a pretty clean-looking vehicle. There's a couple of little scrapes on the right-hand side, but it's relatively clean. And he's had a pretty clean race all in all, so a fantastic victory there for Jake Maloney.
Yeah, I've just got a message now that Bruce Smith says he was not driving well and he didn't feel it was right to take the points off the other guys, so he pulled off. So there's some sportsmanship for you, and you know, whilst it was unfortunate the way it happened, anyway, it's his call, but I'm surprised, to be honest. So
you have to.
Jake Maloney wins. He's moved up 22 positions, Carl. He started 23rd on the grid.
I don't think he didn't even take qualifying, did he? He just just started from the back without any qualifying, and he managed to get the win. A fantastic drive, and a well-deserved drive as well. He's been driving and been in that top 5 position all race. Chris Purnell as well, actually, has 19 positions gained over the whole race. Again, just a fantastic drive there.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, just having a look now, some of the unluckier guys in the race, if we just go back to have a look now, you probably, you know, Josh Mickelmore's probably got a right to feel a little bit hard done by. Edward Foster is also probably, you know, in that boat as well, as is Hayden Dodman. He was in the wars all night. He was, you know.
Well, yeah. Honestly, I think Hayden Dodman's going to be astonished with his position. His car didn't look like it was hooked up all night. Even in qualifying, he kept just edging it in the wall. The car ended up looking like a bit of a scrapper by the end of the race. But he sort of managed to keep that car in sort of running condition all night, even with the damage. So I think he's honestly going to be quite happy with his position, all in all.
I think you could be right. Look, I mean, you know, someone else that probably, you know, didn't have the night they wanted was Matthew Klutz, so he'll drop out of third, unfortunately for him. But, yeah, story of the night, Jake Maloney, Chris Purnell coming from the back of the grid to take first and second. Wow, what a round.
A very dramatic finish there to the race, all in all. A bit of a controversial one as well. There's going to be quite a few people talking, I think, at the end of tonight.
You could be right. Yeah, wow. Just wow. I don't know what else to say. Wow.
I have to feel sorry for Jason Martin as well. He drove extremely well all night. He sort of managed to pretty much keep it out of trouble all night, just until the end there, unfortunately, just getting tapped at the side. Very big, as I say, it was a very... I think there's going to be a lot of talking involved with a lot of people. I think... I imagine Ashley Lear's going to have a couple of people talking to him, but yeah, it was one heck of an end there to the race.
Sorry, pardon me. Yes. All right, so we'll go through the results. I'm just about to have a coughing fit, so Carl, if you wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah. So the The results as they stand is Jake Maloney finishes in first place with Chris Pennell sitting in second. Jackson Callow sitting in third place. One day we will get that right first time. Joshua Carroll Walden fourth. Hayden Dodman managed to get fifth place. A fantastic drive, as I said, just keeping that car on the track. Edward Foster ended up finishing sixth. I don't think he's going to be too upset about that with what happened, being the fact he was facing the wrong direction for some of that race. His brother, James Foster, finishes in seventh. Jason Martin managed to finish in eighth after all of that, so not as bad as it could have been. It could have been a lot worse for him. Gavin Sadler managed ninth place. Michael Sherlock, on his first race, the rookie of the race there, had a fantastic drive, finishing in 10th place.
Yeah, he did, and 10th place on debut for Michael Sherlock. Not a bad thing at all, is it? So,
no.
There's your top 10 for round 8. New Hampshire certainly didn't fail to provide some entertainment, did it?
No, it definitely kept us talking. It really did keep some action going. So action-packed race for sure. There, it was a real bit of a barnstormer there, and a bit of a rough one for a lot of people. There was quite a lot of door rubbing in that race.
All right, so I'm not sure that we can. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to talk to our race winner, Jake Maloney. He doesn't appear to be sitting anywhere there. But look, our second place getter, Chris Purnell, is in the green room. So we might pull him in and have a quick chat, shall we?
Yes, let's grab him through.
Chris Purnell, Brett and Carl from Performance e-streaming. How are you?
Good, thanks, buddy. And yourself?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Look, what a race. You started from the back. I don't know whether you intentionally started back there or not, but look, you've come through 19 places up into second. What a race. This place just doesn't fail to turn it on, does it? How is it from your point of view?
Oh, man, to be honest with you, I'm kind of lost for words at the moment. I had no pace at the start of the race. I wasn't comfortable in the car. I just couldn't seem to find a line that was working for me. And, yeah, just as the race went on, I just kept moving forward, and then I just was lucky and managed to avoid all these wrecks at the right times and get myself in a really good position, decent championship points, and yeah, pretty happy with the result overall.
Did you see what was happening in front of you with Jason Martin and Bruce Smith and Ashley Lear and those? Did you manage to get a decent view of that from the cockpit, or did it all kind of happen out of your view?
From previous restarts, I knew that there was something going to happen there because that's what had been happening every lap sort of thing. So I knew that if I ran a lower line, that if there was anything that was going to happen, it was going to go up the track, and it was just, it just played out perfectly.
Yeah, well, it certainly blew us away the way that ended, and it just was totally and utterly unexpected. Came out of nowhere. So, look, fantastic effort. We'll keep it short tonight because it's late. So, look, fantastic effort again, and well done, mate. Anyone you'd like to thank? And Carl, have you got anything to add to that before we go there? Sorry.
Yeah, just a fantastic drive there, Chris, and how are you doing as well, mate?
Yeah, well, good, bud. Thanks for asking.
It was just a fantastic drive there, and there was a lot of instance on the track. Did you have any sort of, were you sort of just trying to keep out of the, sort of trying to keep on a different line, just trying to avoid trouble most of the race?
Yeah, it was, for me personally, I didn't think I was going to go that well tonight, so my whole goal was just to finish as best as I could and just keep accruing them points for the championship. And I didn't really realise until it was probably 15 to go how much in the box seat I really was to actually have a crack at it. So, yeah, just keep it out of the trouble and being there at the end.
Well, absolutely well done. Great job keeping it out of trouble and a fantastic drive. And this is going to be a really big help for your championship placing.
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot of guys that were affected by it tonight, so it's definitely put me in a decent position, that's for sure.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Well, Chris, especially coming up to the next two races being road courses, which are your kind of little pet specialty. Yourself and Hayden Dodman are probably best placed to benefit out of the road courses. So, yeah, should be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next few rounds. It definitely plays into my strengths, so we'll see how we go.
All right, no worries. Well done, mate. See you next round. Anyone you'd like to thank before you go?
Yeah, just want to thank the guys in the booth here at Performance E-Streaming, C21 Systems, Scrubbers Detailing, and the boys at Alliance Motorsport.
All right, mate. Well done. Thank you, and great race again.
Cheers, mate.
All right, who else have we got up here, Carl? Let's have a look. We've got Jackson Callow, our third place getter. We'll have a quick chat to Jackson, shall we?
Yeah, drag him through.
Jackson, Brett and Carl here from Performance E-Streaming. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Good, good. You had an interesting race tonight, didn't you? You're making a bit of a habit of getting into these broadcast booths.
Yeah, it's been all right week. Tonight was a long night. I tell you what, she was a bit of carnage out there. It's good fun, though.
How was it from your perspective? Because it looked like pretty much everyone either had a wall scrape or someone run up into them or, something happened throughout the race. Did you go fairly well trouble-free or you got a few bumps and scrapes there?
Nah, well, I had a pretty good first stint because I think the first half of the race was all on the green. But at one stage there, I had a little tangle up with the wall all by myself. But
Right.
I ended up going back to about 20th and stayed out for the rest of the race and got a bit lucky with those cautions, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think luck was what everyone needed tonight because, it just seemed to be very unpredictable as to how it was going to run, especially towards the end there. Did not expect it to end that way at all. It was, interesting. Carl.
Yeah, hey Jackson, how you going?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate.
Yeah, so the fantastic drive there. You sort of managed to keep out of the trouble, and I think that was one of the big advantages you had. Did you sort of have any strategy to try and keep out of the sort of carnage that was going around you?
I got back to about 20th, and everyone pitted that last stop, and I didn't pit because I thought there was going to be a little carnage towards the end, so I sort of stayed out. I probably did 50 laps in those tyres at the end there and just had to avoid all the crashes, and I've ended up in here somehow.
Oh, even more impressive. Tyre wear looked to be a big problem tonight. Did you find that the tyres were going off a bit towards the end there?
Yeah, my tyres were definitely fading a bit, but I got a bit lucky at the end there with the yellow flags, to be honest. Otherwise, I would have been probably 10 spots down the field.
Well, congratulations. And did you want to thank anyone tonight?
Yeah, Hot Toddies, TV Installations, Sleepies, and the rest of the lads' race team for their help.
Wonderful. Thanks, Brett. Anything else to add tonight?
No, just a great run, Jackson. And I mean, you started well and you finished well. So, look, I mean, Monday night, Thursday night, I guess if you keep that sort of form going, we'll be talking to you a lot more often, won't we?
Yeah, that's the goal. Oh, thanks for the night, guys. And I'll see you next week.
All right, Jackson. Thanks, mate. Well done.
Have a good night, mate. Looks like Jake Maloney's actually made it into the green room.
Yeah, I'll drag him across now because we'll talk to Jake and then we'll probably wrap it up. So just give me a second. I'll pull him over. Jake Maloney, it's Brett and Carl from Performance E-Streaming. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Yourselves?
Not bad. Little bit shell-shocked by the end of that race, but what a run for you. You started at the back of the field and, you were there at lap 150. How was it from your perspective?
Yeah, no, it was quite fun, really. I saw the server about 10 minutes before practice was going to end, so I jumped in, did a few laps in practice, and figured I'd start at the back because I hadn't done enough practice to race up the front, and just sort of drove my way through. And towards the end of that 50 lap run, I saw I had similar pace to the leaders, so I knew once the cautions come in, I'd be able to catch back up, and then got quite interesting at the end there.
Yeah, interesting is one word for it. Certainly didn't expect, Jason Martin and Bruce Smith to have those sort of troubles towards the end. What were you thinking when it all happened?
I just slammed the throttle to make sure I cleared them and got past them. But and it was interesting. Yes. Thought something like that might happen because if you can hold the outside there, you've probably got a bit of an advantage. So yeah, that worked out quite well for me, luckily.
Yeah, certainly did. And your car seemed to be fairly straight. You didn't really seem to have too many problems throughout the race. I mean, unless we missed something there. But yeah, most people had a few scrapes of the wall or a few bumps and bruises. But yeah, you seem to have come out of it pretty well and landed at the front there.
Yeah, kept it pretty clean. I had a little touch early on in the sort of that first run, but it was only minor and didn't really do any damage. But yeah, from there just kept it clean, and I think just avoided a bit of the carnage.
No, great effort. Carl, you got anything for Jake?
Yeah, hey Jake, how you going? Carl here.
All right.
So yeah, just a fantastic drive there. I imagine you weren't expecting to get a win from today with what was happening, but you sort of just managed to keep the car clean, keep the car running. You had really good pace in the sort of midfield there. Were you expecting to get such a good result today?
Sort of once the run started going and I sort of saw, I was looking at the pace compared to the leaders. I thought I probably had top 3 or 4, and yeah, and I was expecting to finish up there, but I knew Jason would probably win if he had the pace to win without the carnage and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I knew I had the pace to be up in the top 4, and luckily just things played out well enough where I was able to pull through for the win.
Well, congratulations. A fantastic drive, and a drive from the back as well. Do you have anyone to thank for tonight? Any sponsors or anything like that?
I'll just thank Hyper Simulator and Down Under Graphics, their sponsor of ANZCAR stuff. Don't have them on the livery for this series, but yeah, just thank them.
Thank you ever so much, and thank you for giving us such an enjoyable race, and congratulations again for keeping out of trouble. You just an amazing driver.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
No worries. I think you might have started a new trend too, Jake. Just go in and do a couple of laps just 10 minutes before qualifying and run from the back. Seems to be the way to go.
Makes it more fun that way.
Well, it did for us anyway, so thank you, mate.
Cheers, guys.
All right, Carl. Well, what a night. Certainly fascinating. There's a few more guys sitting in the green room, but I think we might wrap it up here. It's getting fairly late for a lot of people, especially the New Zealand guys. So, wow. Any closing words?
Well, it was just, as I said, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and not taking away anything from Jake Maloney there, because he did an absolutely amazing race, but he was really lucky to avoid those accidents and just missing those vehicles. Just a fantastic drive there from both him and Chris Burnell, just driving from the back. There were so many sort of sad stories in the pack as well tonight, so many sort of bad incidents, but one other thing I just have to mention is just Hayden Dodman just managing to keep the car up there. Really good for this championship positioning, of course. The fact he's managed to keep a car that looked like it was handling like a dog all night on the track and managed to finish in the top 5 is, well, it just shows how good he is.
Well, he still got a top 5, didn't he? And, you know, at the end of the day, he finished in front of Martin, which, you know, it'll keep that few points between them. But I tell you what, hard luck story of the night for me is definitely Jason Martin.
Yeah, very much so.
The win was his, and it slipped away. Having said that, though, I'm sure he'll be back next round and back into it. So our next round is on the 4th of October at Watkins Glen for 45 laps. First of a 2 road race run. Always very interesting to see who adapts to those quite well. Some guys work there, some guys don't. I guess it works both ways, but you know, yeah, there's a few guys in this field that seem to excel on road courses. So really looking forward to that, and for something a little bit different on the roads too.
Very much, yeah. We're going to see. Well, we've seen a lot of different names up at the top of the field today, just from strange circumstances. But on those road courses, we do see a few different names usually climbing their way up the field. So really going to be looking forward to the Watkins Glen. So we'll be seeing you in 2 weeks for that, and we'll be looking forward to doing some more commentary.
Absolutely, and thank you again to Matt Hunter, who's our director and producer at Performance E-Streaming here. Done a wonderful job as always and kept us on the straight and narrow. Thank you, Carl, and thank you everyone out there. We'll see you in 2 weeks on Performance E-Streaming for ANZCAR Thursday Night Thunder at Watkins Glen. Good night from me, and good night from...
me, Carl. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.